They say everything happens for a reason. Growing up in the city of Detroit and having the parents that I have made me into a very vigilant and mentally tough individual. These very same characteristics have been pivotal in my growth and development as a man. Like most inner city youth, sports was my outlet, primarily basketball. I can't tell you that I was any more special than anyone else, but I had the desire and the work ethic to be the best. Until, or at least in my mind, I felt that I was the best. This mindset paid me in two ways. One, a college scholarship, and two, a professional career. I was always conscious of nutrition, but playing internationally heightened my awareness because my body was now my source of earning a living. While playing sports, you're always prone to injuries. And during my 14-year career, trust me, I substantiated my share of them, with the worst being a near foot amputation, which resulted in me having a titanium plate implanted into my right foot. But it was the implementation of multicultural nutritional practices that allowed me to bounce back. Soon, my passion to study and speak on nutrition began to exceed my passion for playing the game. Now, I don't claim to be a health scholar, doctor, or healer. And I state this because watching this, I know a lot of you are probably saying to yourselves right now, who does he think he is? And who is he? Well, the answer is simple. I'm just a guy from Detroit with a vision to help my people.
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite.
Ancient cultures in general, ancient Africans in particular, did consume meat. But what people have to understand is this. Back then, in the days of the ancients, they did not eat the type of meats we're eating today. Because a lot of the so-called meat that people are eating today is not even meat.
A lot of the foods that we have eaten in the past 60 years or so are not digestible. The animal protein that we're eating can't be digested because there is no data in the genes to know what to do with it, because it's manufactured. Not only is it manufactured or created through crossbreeding, it also is preserved. Like when you look at red meat in the store, I mean, how is it still red like that? What is that red stuff on it? You see, they put a preservative on it. You know, blood turns brown. So how is the meat red? You see, it is sitting on a piece of styrofoam. You know, styrofoam is basically formaldehyde and plastic, you know, put together. And this is actually getting in your system too.
So the meat today is highly chemicalized. It's one of the most chemicalized foods there is. We have the steroids in it, which bulks up the animal. We have the adrenaline in the animal squirting out in fear of being killed. So it's a high amount of adrenaline in it, a high amount of steroids in it, a high amount of growth hormones in it to cause the animal to have sex and grow fast. So eating the meat alone will cause you to have a sex addiction because you're eating sex hormones, synthetic sex hormones. So you're developing a sex addiction, and then you're developing aggressive kind of fight kind of behavior because you're eating a lot of adrenaline, which is fight or flight. So we have that kind of chemicalized behavior manifested from this meat that we're eating, but we think meat is totally innocent. Meat is one of the most highly processed foods you can eat.
You have to understand that what we're eating today was not always eaten by the folks of old, the ancient folk, the ancient people. And then, pertaining to those people eating meat, they didn't eat it the way we eat it. They didn't eat as much of meat like we do today. There was no 3 square meals per day consisting of meat. And I'm being nice by saying meat, because just keeping it real is really cadaver.
So you're eating this flesh. You don't know how old it is. They say it's fresh, but what does fresh mean? Fresh means that it could have been just thawed out freshly today. You see, this could be 15 years old. You don't have no idea because they freeze things.
And we see how these fast food operators invade our community. And they have specific brands for us. And the prices are very reasonable because they are selling you trash. They're selling you garbage. They're selling you salvage meats that cannot be sold the way they look, the way they smell, the way they taste. They have been bromated, perfumed, dyed, colored, all of this stuff.
So they put nitrites on it. Don't want to get too chemically involved. That causes the cells to expand and the blood to come up and make the meat look fresh.
A lot of these foods, they use, fast foods also, they use an ingredient called TBHQ. TBHQ is a very long name, so we won't even say what that is. But it's a preservative. It preserves the oil. So normally they would fry foods, and you know, every other day or so got to throw the oil away because it's rancid. What TBHQ does is it makes the rancid oil not able to be detected. You can't detect that it's rancid. It don't smell funky. It don't smell rotten. It preserves freshness. It's a freshness preserver. Do you know that TBHQ, if you had more than 1 gram of it in your body, you would die instantly? So what happens is over time, you actually receive more than 1 gram of this. And this is why a lot of people are dying. This is why a lot of people are sick.
The way meat was traditionally consumed is completely different than the way it's consumed today. There's several examples. I'll give you one. One is genetically modified organisms, GMOs. That did not exist in ancient civilizations. GMOs is basically bacteria or a plant. It's the DNA is engineered in such a way that it does not exist in regular nature. So you're taking a engineered product and you're putting it in the food supply.
So to eat secondhand garbage food from an animal that's been slaughtered, that is rotten and decaying, and for you to bury that animal in your system and become a graveyard for that animal that's going to break down and rot in your system, the animal is going to rot you. So your cancer label is waiting for you when you grow up, if you get that far.
There's so many diseases in the food, people begin to act like the animal. You got to check out people. They don't eat nothing but the best beef. USDA grade A beef. How you doing, Dr. B? I heard your lecture and I didn't like what you said about cows. That ain't true, because my great-grandfather was a cow farmer. What you got to say about that? He sound like a cow. If you look at people, they start acting more like animals than they are acting like people.
This meat-driven civilization is like a religion. Meat is basically a religion in this country. It goes into the mythology. Everything is based on mythology, this belief system. Your culture gives you your belief system. Your reaction to your belief system is called emotions. Reaction to emotion is called a feeling, and long feeling is called a mood. So the culture is the foundation of this belief system in this meat. If you want to run fast, you eat deer. If you want the power of being able to capture and destroy people, you eat a boar, a wild boar, or pig as you call it today.
When you start to put these things in the body, outside of it drying up your body's plasma reserves that we've falsely been told the water reserves, is that you're developing inflammation in various areas of the body. Inflammation setting in. Inflammation is the root of all large illnesses, cancer, autoimmune disease. All at the root is inflammation.
It's toxemia, the cause of our disease. Toxins in the system. It is waste. It is garbage. It is filth. It is food that the body did not recognize as food. So it didn't get to process it and utilize it, so it sit in our body and rot, decay, putrefy. And we smell it on the underarm, we smell it when we go to the toilet, we smell it in our breath. You know, we are dying.
We are eating ourselves into sickness, into disease, into death, into a coffin.
Nutrition is not on the top of the shelf for the manufacturers. What's on the top of the shelf is keeping you sick. So we have to be diligent about the things that we're eating. If you're eating seedless grapes, all right, seedless watermelons, think about a human body. We all have seeds in us too. The man has seeds that produce a child. The woman has seeds that produce a child. What would a seedless man be like, or a seedless woman? They would be sterile. So there's a gene called a terminator gene that was invented by a company to take away seeds so that farmers could be dependent on biotechnology companies like Monsanto.
Monsanto is God now. No, there's only one. Shut up. Don't want to hear it. Because you eat what Monsanto produces and not God via nature. How do I know? Because it's not available.
It's about money. It's about sales. It's about getting you to buy something that you think that you need, but you don't.
So you got the food on your plate is terrible. The food you're snacking on, most of these fast foods have been made through industrial waste products, foods that never existed. They take all these chemicals and put them together and give them to you. And then we talk about what people are doing to us with racism, sexism. Oh, you don't need to worry about that right now. What you need to look at is what you are taking, what you are choosing, what you're taking into your body, what you are choosing to buy. And you're buying this stuff. You're buying this toxic stuff.
Because of these growth hormone stimulators that is put in the milk, which comes from the animal, the eggs, which come from an animal, and the beef and the chicken and the fish that come from an animal. All of these chemicalized products, because they want this fish to grow fast, the chicken to grow fast, the pig to grow fast, the cow to grow fast, so they can get it to the market fast, so they can sell it fast. And we're wondering why all of this stuff is happening, why the children are running around fast and doing this and doing that, because they hyped up off of this meat, the chemicals in it, in the dairy, the cheese, the eggs, and of course the dead animals themselves.
The food that the children get in schools is similar to the food that the people get in the prison system. They're like the same companies.
So now you have a situation where schools are trying to tell parents that they need to bring in a school note if they want to give their children bag lunch. Otherwise, the school knows what the children should eat. The parents don't have to worry about feeding the children. The parents, you don't know what you're feeding your child. Don't worry about it. We got this. If anything, you want to send your child to school with lunch, send them a note, and also have a doctor's note attached to your note as to why you want to allow them to eat the bag lunch, or we're going to throw it in the garbage.
We see the young ladies and even some of the young men, overgrown breasts from eating the chickens that have been consuming hormones to grow big breasts. And since that's the part of the chicken we tend to go for the most, we're going to be manifesting like chickens. So you see the results of these things now. So there's massive fears in our community because we are just that now, chickens. We don't stand up and we don't speak for our right. We don't live for our right.
Natural animals attempt to get away. They attempt to save themselves. The survival vibration comes on. Fight or flight. You understand what I'm saying? These animals don't have fight or flight. So then you consume these animals with no fight or flight, so you lose your fight or flight.
And we still consuming these types of food, which from the 60s, we revolted against those foods. And we bring things into our community to share with our community in the form of co-ops and natural food restaurants that have been big institutions in our community over these years.
But when I look at my people around the world, melanated people, I look at how they eat. Not the ones that are, commercialized and domestic. The ones that still eat the old ways. They're healthy. Look at the blue zones. These are some of the healthiest people in the world that live. Some of them live to be 150 years old. I was in Nassau, a lady who helped to train me. She's 150 years old. You say, come on, Dr. B. No, I'm telling you. And she had more energy than I had. She told me I was a Yankee Dread. You Yankee Dread? You're not the real true article. I'm like, wow, what are they eating? Well, they eating yams. You see, that helps the hormones become balanced. Hormones are chemical messengers. The first problem people have is with the hormonal system. The glands go out, everything's going out.
Africa possesses the baddest aphrodisiacs. We need them over here now because of the SAD. All the dairy products and meat. We got brothers who can't even get it up. They made a song, 2-Minute Brother. We got sisters who can't even get pregnant. What's up with that?
So you eat a high amount of nitrites and your body's trying to flush out the nitrites because it's too much for this normal range of the body. So you no longer have the nitrites to dilate your tissue and help your tissue to expand. So you have to go to the drugstore and buy nitrites, which you call Viagra.
Even what we apply on our skin, like chemicals, products, deodorant, shampoos, lotions, with toxins and chemicals, which the majority of them do because one, they're cheaper to make, and two, they have a longer shelf life. All that stuff affects us, and of course it's affecting the reproductive organs, and it leads to infertility.
So when we look at the complexity of the range of difference between the diets of the people of African descent prior to the slave trade and look at it post-slave trade, inside of that one equation we have the fundamental answer with what is wrong with our health.
People don't like change. Let's just be honest. Change for people is not fun. It wasn't fun for me, but I had to make a choice. I don't want to eat meat because when you eat meat, it turns acidic. So then you have an acidic environment inside your body, and that's parasites and worms are having a field day inside of you.
That's my specialty, parasites. These bugs, these some of them are smaller than you can see with the human eye. Some are 33 feet long, living in your food. And you feel like you cook your food, right? You cook your nice steak or your nice chicken wing. really well. But your stove only goes to 500 degrees. A lot of these animals, these beings, they can withstand 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, if you got a brick oven or a pottery oven or in the house and you're cooking your meat in there and it turns into a little white powder, you might be safe. But these parasites get in your body, they take over. They control your thought process, they control digestion, they live in your organs, they eat you from the inside out. And one of the number one parasites in a lot of the flesh is called a flesh-eating bacteria. It eats flesh. Look that up. Go on the internet, type flesh-eating bacteria. You wouldn't believe. And they say flesh-eating a bacteria was discovered in black people first. The first man to get it was a man in Philadelphia, a black police officer. It eats you down to the bones. People are being eaten from the inside out.
It's the Snow White story, the Wicked Witch. She had the rotten apple with the worms inside. She made it look good. She got Snow White to eat the rotten apple with the worms inside. That was really, it looked fresh, but once she ate it, the worms and things transferred into her body and put her in a coma. Okay? So, we live in that time where that's happening to us right now, and we understood the basics of life. You can't eat something dead and expect to get any life, any electrons, any electricity, any negative ions. We could not get any radiation, any of the rays from the sun out of something that's dead, because all those things have already left that carcass's body before we put it into ours.
So we're looking at people that are eating dead things, wanting some life, wanting more life, more of this, but you're eating something dead. What we want to do is eat live things. We want to get our protein from the same source that the cattle and the chicken and the fish get it from. They're eating seaweeds, and then they eat the fish, they eat the seaweeds. Just eat the seaweeds. Why go through all of this stuff? You're eating the cow's eating the soybeans and beans. They eat all type of beans, mind you, but we just give them soybeans, of course, because it's cheap. They eat all of this protein from plants, as well as the fish eating it from a small plant. Then another fish eats that fish who got his protein from the plant, the seaweed. So everything is relying on the plant kingdom. So why go through these animals to get to the plants? Just go to the plant. There's pea protein. There's all type of proteins that you can eat. Hemp protein. I'm not talking about smoking it, mind you. I'm talking about the hemp. I'm saying all the plants have protein in it. That gives us a structure. All plants have fats. All plants have starches. This is just a chemical constituency of plants. So we're just talking about a part of the plant that we want. We want to eat plants that are high in protein. You don't have to eat the animal.
The true vitamin D you need is going to come from the sun. Getting enough sunlight. You see, also getting enough vitamin A. You're going to get vitamin A, vitamin D from things like coconut oil. Virgin, raw, unrefined coconut oil will give you most of your oils.
There's moringa oil, rich in nutrition. The moringa oil contains omega-3 fatty acid, the omega-6, the omega-7, the omega-9. We got oils that we can put on the skin. The marula oil, argan oil, shea butter, the shea nut oil. The continent has blessed us. It's some serious foods available from the continent. Baobab fruit, baobab oil. Oh man, do the research on your baobab. B-A-O-B-A-B. Baobab. Rich in nutrition. Africa does produce food that contains the highest nutritional value of all foods on the planet. Africa.
When I look at people who are still eating a lot of the original foods, and a lot of them are indigenous people, they're healthier. They're not eating food that's been processed and represented to them. You see, they're eating the natural way. They live longer.
The folks of old, they didn't eat meat like we do today. Everything is meat. So-called breakfast is meat. Lunch, meat. Dinner, meat. Hell, even the snacks, beef jerky, meat. Meat. And under the guise of so-called protein. And if you ask most folks, what is protein, they don't even know. Don't give a damn. They just associate meat with protein, and that's not the case. The ancients didn't eat meat for so-called protein. Hell, they never even heard of protein. Keeping it real.
The only thing that's natural on the planet for man's consumption is fruit. It's fruit. And that's the only thing that you don't have to deal with the karma of death in order to eat. All right? When you pluck a piece of fruit, the tree, the bush, the plant is still living.
Follow the natural flow. The natural flow is fruits and vegetables grow. They just grow. You don't have to do anything. You have to chase them. You don't have to go fight and tear the skin off an animal and, you know what I'm saying, and kill it. You don't have to do that. There's fruits and vegetables that just grow naturally. All you got to do is go gather them. We were not gatherers and hunters. They keep talking about, well, you know, the first people were gatherers and hunters. Well, what do you know? You just got here. How you know more about me than I know about myself? We couldn't have been gatherers and hunters because fire, right? We didn't have fire for a long time. Unless we found a tree that was struck by lightning, you know what I'm saying? And, but naturally, we didn't have to do anything but gather.
You know, as a people, we have been on this planet for at least 1 million years based on our recorded history. And, it really only has been probably no more than 200,000 years before the advent of fire. So before African Americans came to these shores, eons ago, first of all, without fire, we obviously did not eat any cooked food.
If we have to cook the meat, if we have to boil the meat, if we have to do anything to prepare the meat, we have to season, flavor, break it down, chop it up, anything like that to prepare or process the meat in order for us to eat it, then we are not carnivores by nature, because a lion, a true carnivore, does not have to cook it. He doesn't have to turn pigs into bacon in order to eat it. If he's going to eat a pig, he's going to bite right down into the pig's ass cheeks and eat that entire pig lock, stock, and barrel. He's not going to make it a Thanksgiving dish. He's not going to make it ham. He's not going to stick an apple in his mouth. He's going to eat that entire pig, bones, hair, and all. That's a meat eater. That's a carnivore.
The whole protein thing is really a myth. I mean, think about it, beloved. Do you have to eat hair in order to grow hair or get hair? Do you have to eat fingernails in order to grow or get fingernails? Do the women have to eat titties in order to grow or get titties? Do they have to eat booty in order to grow or get booty? Or to have back, as in baby got back? Think about it. So you're saying that we have to eat meat in order to get meatier? That doesn't make any sense. Because when we look in nature, we see that the largest creatures, the largest animals, they don't eat meat. So how do they get big? How do they get bulky? How do they get meaty? How? If they're not getting protein from meat.
You know what's interesting? Meat eaters never ask you, or nobody ever asked me, where do you get your calcium? Where do you get your phosphorus? Where do you get your manganese? Why do you want to know where do I get my protein from? It's not the most important, it's important, but it's not the most important mineral, if you will, to make me a healthy person.
Protein is 22 complete amino acids. You're not going to find 22 complete amino acids in one particular body part. Eating a chicken wing or chicken breast or a thigh, that's not protein. There's no one isolated part of the human body or an animal that is 22 complete amino acids. Now, the human being who went to school and who has a relationship with God does not know that. But the animal in the wild knows it. The true carnivore I say the true carnivore because a lot of humans think that they are carnivores. See, this is why the lion and the tiger eats the whole animal down to the bone. They know what protein is. They're getting 22 complete amino acids, and that's why they eat everything. Everything. The human does not. And that's why I say this whole protein thing, protein coming from meat, it's nothing but a myth.
So we do know from history that the first Europeans to learn anything about vegetarian diets on this planet learned them from a group of people who we call Ethiopians, and conventionally we call them Kushites. So we can look back at our history knowing that Kush was one of the founding civilizations to give rise later to Egypt, that our people in various parts of the kingdom that they were part of did practice vegetarianism.
Nature gives us everything we need, but one of the things that we have to do is get back to following the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is living naturally. You know, and in your head there's a little battle that goes on when you attempt to do something that's not good for you. Like you decide you're going to brush your teeth in the morning. The first thing you do is reach for it. And on the back of the label it says that it's got fluoride and this is not meant to be swallowed. They say call for professional help. Then call poison control. Professional help means you got a mental problem. If you're about to put this in your mouth, this rat poison in your mouth, and think that it helps make strong teeth. When they find all the mummies with strong teeth, they didn't have fluoride. What did they have? You see, they had their thought process tied in with nature.
I think the health of the black community is more than just the diet. You gotta feel good about yourself. You gotta love yourself to want to eat good foods. Why the heck would you eat good foods? You don't even like yourself. You know, you don't even know about yourself. Do you want to talk about that? We got some scholars that could break that down.
Those emotional problems here that we have to deal with. People are addicted because of the emotional problems they have, not because they're intellectually stupid or retarded. They have emotional problems, and we don't deal with that. We think, oh, I talked to them, I explained to them not to fry their food, but you didn't explain to them what the emotion they need to get away from the food. You just told them the logic of it all. You see, that there's a hydrocarbon and all this kind of hydrogenated, you give them all that logic, but the problem is emotional.
And this is why we're bringing you these types of messages, because you don't have to be dealing on that level anymore. We need to elevate our soul.
And when you start to investigate why you eat meat every day, because you don't need it, that fruits and vegetables have as much protein as meat, usable protein, and that's just another story as well, you'll start questioning why you wear commercial deodorant, why you use commercial toothpaste, why. This is the thing, when you change, everything in your life changes.
But what we have to do is listen to the gut feeling again. But the only thing about the gut feeling is the average person's gut is so toxic that they can't feel their gut feelings.
So, to rescue our brothers and sisters that are still digging in the barrel of the swine, eating these types of food, thinking they're getting a good deal, it is nothing but a drug. You have been doped up, and you need to come home so we can detox you.
It's a new day today. A new day today. The way we eat, what we eat, how we eat. A new day. Mental programming has a lot to do with what we eat, how we eat, and when we eat. We're programmed, man, in every aspect of life here in the Matrix. So why would diet be an exception?
Food, by definition, is a substance. And we know that all substance abuse comes from psychological disorders.
The imprinting process, especially in the younger years, in the formative years, is what sticks with us. The subconscious programs these symbols and these ideas and these ways of life. And the subconscious not only records everything without filtering, it also plays it back in the moment. So there's no time. So whatever imprints, whatever visions we have, like even pictures of folks sitting down at church or at the family's house and looking at a picture of the Last Supper. Checking, that's like connecting the man is about to die, right, with food. So people end up eating themselves to death based on that mental image that's been imprinted that it's okay to eat all this food and feast at everything and overeat and then fall asleep. You see, that's become part of our life, part of our what we call our family. It's about eating. What we're going to eat, what we're going to have.
So when we see a population of people who don't have the parents to give them that traditional guidance, then we can look at television, Hollywood, commercials, McDonald's, arches, golden arches, children sitting in the backseat of a car, seeing those images reprogrammed in the mind. This is what builds their memory. So in building that memory with those images, constantly using the TV as a way of intruding into our mental space, the programming itself, through constantly seeing these images, reinforces inside of our mind that's what we are supposed to do. The human being is a creature of habit.
The conscious mind can only process 7 individual bits of information a second. The subconscious can process 20 billion bits of information every second. It's in control, but it doesn't think. It doesn't make decisions. It just records everything and plays it back.
But the demonstration of where the programming comes in is when you see people walk past all the free food to go into the supermarket to buy something that's growing outside. I've seen people literally walk past 12 coconut trees where you could reach up and grab the coconuts. You don't even have to climb up to grab the coconuts to go in the supermarket to buy coconuts for $3 a piece. When the supermarket is not doing anything but coming right outside the supermarket, bringing the coconuts down off the tree and right into the store.
And they ask you at the counter, did you get everything that you needed? What they really asking you is, you sure you got something that's what you truly need and desire? This is what I always look at the food. Wait a minute, I didn't need that. Let me take all this stuff, put it back. I need to go back up and down the aisles and see what's here. In fact, let me leave all this stuff and go to a farmer's market.
They say, beloved, that repetition of a message constitutes mental programming. I'll say it again. Repetition of a message constitutes mental program or mental programming. So, Coca-Cola, over and over again, is programming you. McDonald's, over and over again, is programming you. The symbols, the logos, the phrases, it's all programming.
This programming sets up a cycle, an automatic cycle that says this is love, this is family, this is good. Even if the food is not good for you, the idea of what we're doing seems to be good for you.
We're getting these images given to us starting from Hollywood to Netflix to these other places. So without something as a guard, something that given to us to actually give us a way of thinking through the society, then we have no way of combating against the impressions that are put on our children.
And we are basically messed up from birth because we're not using the right birthing technology that our ancestors used for 2 million years before the Europeans showed up. I'm not principally trying to say the Europeans, because the Chinese and the East Indians were involved in the slave trade, and the Arabs before Europeans showed up. We were sold out of Canton in China, and we were sold out of Malabar and Ceylon in India by the East Indians and the Chinese. 2,000 years of slavery under them. Then the white folks showed up and the system was already in place, so it was easy for them to run it.
Our people started being de-Africanized through Western and Eastern European education, because it's education that people are being transformed.
Learn all this stuff that you can't use. Intel. It's an Intel project. It's a government program. Get you all pumped up, get you all these books and all these videos so you know all this stuff. But what can you do with it? Activity. See, what can you do with it? You got to do something with it. You don't realize that you are now domesticated, doomed, a dome. You can't go too far.
When you go to school, you get a degree of understanding. You don't get the whole subject. And when you go to the school, the man says, I'm going to give you a degree. I'm not going to give you the whole thing. And we rush to the school, get a master's degree. And we're happy with a degree of understanding. 2 degrees, 3 degrees, he never told you how many. You're not going to get 360, that's for damn sure. You got 360, you would want to be free. And you're not educated to be free. That's stupid for them to do that.
So most people are domesticated, even when we feel like we're making a lot of money. We're making money. We got this. People want to show how much money they're making and talk about all the egotistical things that they're doing in life. What does that do? It keeps you on the farm. It keeps everybody knowing all your business. It keeps you unbalanced. It keeps you unfocused, and you're eating food that you can't digest. So now you have all this undigested protein, undigested fats in your body. Your body becomes toxic.
Because they cleanse it. They sterilize the process of death. Like they sterilize it with you and make it seem like you're free, you'll be all right. They sterilize your oppression so you don't see it as oppression. Give you a cell phone and a laptop, you think you're free. No, you're not free, no grow. You got to grow into your culture. That's why you're a no grow, Negro. Get over it.
The greatest people in the world didn't go to college. Some of the most powerful people, they didn't go to college. They were off the cuff. They were hippies sitting around high, staring at the sky, you know, eating rutabagas or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They all of a sudden they come up with something deep. When I say high, I'm talking about high off natural foods, high off themselves, high off a living, higher vibration, higher thought process, not staying stuck.
So we took a hold in our communities through the independent African schools in Chicago, in New York City, Uhuru Sasa, Shule, and even as it still stands today in Houston, Texas, Shape Community Center, where we had food co-ops. My first class, Vegetarian 101, 1967, Bed-Stuy, Fulton and Claver, right at the corner, the Uhuru Co-op. And the deprogramming was very intense for us to go through.
Once you get a holistic view of the world, once you realize that we were the ones who started everything, then you don't get this thing of lack and limitation.
It's proposed that Africa was a place of savages. It was a place of people who were unintelligent. It was a place of people who, you know, had no contributions to the world. We're learning differently now. We look at those big pyramids. We look at the first literature in medicine, like the canon of medicine that came from an African. We look at all of the glorious history, and what we find out is that the world borrowed, in some ways, stole from us.
How we define ourselves is very important. Like me, I don't define myself as an African American because I don't know what that is. In fact, this is new. I don't even know where it came from. I don't know what that is. You know, the Africans know that I'm not an African anymore. I might have some ancestry there. American, well, I have Native American ancestry. I got ancestry from India. I mean, the whole world was one big continent. Alkebulan, Pangea. You see what I'm saying? I'm not from Africa. I'm from where I'm going. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you start holding me down to a grid and saying that I'm this and I'm that, putting a label on me, then I can't expand. I'm who I need to be. I am melanated. So I will say, okay, well, I'm brown or black, whatever you'd like to call me. But then, do I have to stay stuck in that consciousness because that consciousness could keep me in a box? Do you feel what I'm saying?
Everybody thinks that their ancestor was Amun-Ra or, you know, King of Zamunda or, you know, everybody's ancestors is, you know, and that's not the case.
So you can call yourself ancient whatever, but you don't know how these people lived 1,000 years ago. You can look at the symbols and carry them and wear them on your clothes. Believe me, you are not those people. You need to be who you are now, and you need to be expanding that, using what you know to expand yourself.
So we have to have strong family structures, and we have to have the type of education that will give us the particular type of knowledge to suit us to a better nutritional balance specifically for our gene pool.
And this whole thing about self-improvement, this is where it's got to be. You got to work on yourself, and you can't ask other people. You can't be talking about, you know, something and then ask a friend what do they think about it. You got this great idea. You want to build this, you know, health retreat in the islands. And they tell you, man, come on, man, you done lost your mind, man. You talking all this crazy stuff, man. The banks ain't giving no loans. You ain't even got no passport. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even been out the hood. You ain't never even been on a vacation. And your uncle crazy, your mama crazy, your brother crazy. How the heck you gonna do that? You ain't nothing but a nigga. If you let these people define you, if you live life based on other people's validation, you're done. You're an invalid. You're invalid. You're sick. You're mentally in a wheelchair.
And that's the primary problem with this so-called violence that the black people are having. It's not really violence, it's a reaction to the social situation we're in, which is basically a form of incarceration. I mean, let's face it, we are outmates. You're either inmate or outmate, and we're outmates. Nonetheless, this social situation is that we are miseducated, as Carter G. Woodson has said many times before he died. And principally, we don't have our culture to drive our understanding. When you're cultureless, you're helpless. So we don't have the health because our culture defines our health. And what is happening with our people is that we are reacting to the situation we're in. We need quick energy to get out of this situation, so we go for quick burning foods, which they call fast foods. We want to quickly get out of this situation, and that leads us into alcohol or sugar or something to relieve this situation, this emotional depression that we're in.
The environment of your body starts with your thinking. And also the environment of your body has to do with the place that you're in, what you believe, what's in your environment, what's around you, toxic materials, plastics, chemicals, water in plastic bottles, things like that. So we began to believe in something called genetic determination. Your genes determine who you are. They lock you in. If they was in prison, you're going to prison. Your uncle was a thief. You know, he stole most of his life, and he went to jail. You got to work hard not to be like your uncle. Come on, man. My uncle stole because he had to steal, maybe. We don't know what the problem was. Maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was the drugs they gave him in the army. You know what I'm saying?
Immediate satisfaction with white sugar products and fried foods and alcohol and crack and cocaine is trying to give ourselves a remedy to the situation, and that's primarily it. And the birthing technology is the mainly destructive thing that's going on. Having a drug birth causes a person to be confused and not easily able to sort out what's going on. Just drugging the mother at birth, I think that's the worst crime that's going on, above everything else, above sugar, above every damn thing, is them taking over the child before it's born, drugging the child, putting the child in a position where it can't get enough oxygen and nourishment by the lady laying on her back. All of this is an invasive procedure that sets up the destruction. After that, it's easy to destroy the child because they have no continuity in their life because it was interrupted. We call it culturally interrupted. They're culturally interrupted before they're born.
The broken family structure of the African Americans, and of course it's not everybody, but the large majority of our people who are having nutritional problems, it is because they have no time to invest in the study and the economic paradigm to get them in a position to have better nutrition. If you have a mother that's working a 9-to-5 or 2 jobs and the father is not in the home and the children are being raised by grandparents who ate soul food or what they thought was soul food, then we are stuck in a paradigm where the mother, the child, the father, the family can't even have the opportunity to sit at a table in unity and have a meal. So when we learn home economics, we don't learn the type of foods that are befitting to our tradition in Africa where our ancestors came from. We are learning European food dynamics, we are learning what sells, we are learning what will propel us into a mind state to be consumers.
And people are getting to the point where, they don't read. So we're getting to a point where we can be told anything.
Do we know what to eat if they turn the lights off? Can you imagine if they turn these lights off right now? Can you imagine what's going to happen in 48 hours if they cut all electricity off and shut down and that's going to shut down the gas station because it's pumped by, what you think you leaving town, where you going? Can you survive? Do you know what foods, what plants, what herbs grow in your neighborhood or in your grass? Do you have dandelion growing? Do you have marshmallow growing on your lawn? Do you see what I'm saying? Goldenrod growing on people's yards. These are medicinal plants, very powerful, that folks are throwing away as weeds. In fact, most of the weeds are medicine.
What people with melanin have to realize is your diet stems from your gene pool. And our gene pool is Mother Africa. That's our gene pool. What does that mean? That means that we must eat food from the continent in order to get the necessary nutrients that our bodies require. That's very important. Very important.
So that's the only thing that we're dealing with in terms of people having related illnesses. Usually when you see people that are overweight, the children are overweight because they're teaching them the same things. A lot of us have been programmed since slavery or the prisoner of war time that not eating, having your stomach growl, things like that are signs of poverty, and not having money, and you know, that's farthest from the truth. In fact, if you're looking to lose weight, you have to become comfortable with your stomach growling. When your stomach growls, that's how your body communicates with you, through sound and feeling. So when your stomach growls, that's actually your body saying, look, we need more energy, and if you're not going to put any food down here for us to process to get it, we're going to start to use the fat that you've stored up, and we're going to burn that for energy. So that's letting you know, actually, listen, we're going to burn some fat. Now, we've been backwards programmed that as soon as our stomach growls, we need to throw a lot more stuff on top of that to stop whatever it is that is causing our stomach to growl. So you'll never lose any weight because you're constantly putting on or stopping your body from burning up those fat cells.
And you're eating to die. You're not eating to live. You see what I'm saying? Are you eating to live, or are you living to eat? People don't realize that sometimes you need to not eat. And if you eat, follow the way some of the people are living in these places where they're living very long, healthy lives. You see? And this expands you. You want to make a lot of money? Start eating and thinking in an elevated way. Because we got to make we don't need to make money, we need to raise money. Right now, we are so on. Us, people of color. Everybody in the world's waiting on us to do what we're supposed to do. Well, no, you know, this racism. There's always some isms. But if you look at that as a deterrent, you won't be successful. So since there's racism, why would you be involved with nutritional suicide? Huh? Why would you feed yourself and your family some stuff that's worse than the racism? At least there's a chance you might not incur racism out there in the world. But you just went to the grocery store. What kind of ism is that?
It seems as though our black community is having a high amount of reproductive problems with the fibroid tumors and the prostate disease. This is known as sympathetic stress reaction. This is what is caused when you take a nicotine, or caffeine, or alcohol. Your body goes into sympathetic stress and decreases the nourishment or blood supply to the reproductive system. If you stay in that stress position for a long time, your reproductive system deteriorates. You can go into stress from being in the wrong spiritual system, alienated from your own spiritual technology. Being a Christian or Muslim has nothing to do with being African. That's a social system put on us by somebody else. But nonetheless, I'm not trying to get into all of that aspect. I'm just saying the sympathetic stress alone will destroy the reproductive system, and that's caused by being angry, being depressed, shuts down the nourishment to your reproductive system. Sugar, salt, all of those are poisons, shuts down the nourishment to the reproductive system. All of those things added to the drugs that we take, which is aspirin and Tylenol, will cause the reproductive system to get weaker and weaker and weaker. Watching a lady getting raped on TV, which we call music videos, which is nothing but pornographic rape scenes, causes the brother to create a chemical in the system that causes the reproductive system to get weak. Because we don't have an understanding of our body, which Carter G. Woodson said we're miseducated. Everything gets turned into a liquid. That's what I'm trying to say. If you get angry, it turns into a liquid that destroys your reproductive system. Even if you look at something that's destructive, it turns into a liquid because you see with your brain, you hear with your brain, you taste with your brain. So everything has to be a liquid. You can produce a free radical just by being angry.
We get so caught up in the revolutionary concepts that we're still enslaved mentally. No, we're actually still enslaved by this food. We're still enslaved by the standard American diet.
And there are natural choices out there. It's just that your mind has been domiciled. You are a domestic creature. And then you want money. You look how many people, who are in our communities who are rich now. Ball players, rappers, singers. You know what I'm saying? Business people. We get deep in everything we do. We take over. Okay, so now here we are, we've taken over, but you're sick. You got high blood pressure, diabetes. You're half crazy. You're foolish. You're involved with unhealthy relationships. You got unhealthy food. You're wearing clothes that's been washed in chemicals. You see, you're bathing yourself in chemicals, calling them perfumes so you can smell good, but obviously you smell funky because there's the rotten material inside you coming out in your sweat glands. So we become funky. We become, you know, we're way off course with this kind of stuff. So we got to wake up. We got to say, wait a minute, let me take control. How do you take control? Well, first you got to get control of the vehicle. Your body is your vehicle. Somewhere along the line, you fell asleep at the wheel. When you realize you fell asleep at the wheel, what do? You wake up. You roll down some windows. Let me get some air. I fell asleep for the last 3 exits. So you wake up. Then you start making conscious choices, aware choices. You start reading labels. You start calling that 800 number, you see, and figuring out why is this happening. And when you start finding out what's in your food, when you become not just an information junkie, but when you begin to activate and become an activist for your own health and your family's health, now we got power. Power is just not in knowledge and being able to ego trip and talk about how much you know. It has to do with the application of knowledge.
I think that we need to stop focus on the social political aspects so much, the paperwork and things like that. We might want to start focusing on the food. We might want to be nationalizing the food, because while we're so fight the power, I'm a Moorish American and this and that, we're still going out and eating Taco Bell, Wendy's. We're still eating everybody else's food. And again, like I said, nobody's planting a gun to our head and making us do that. You don't need paperwork to go eat some greens. You don't need paperwork to make yourself a raw smoothie.
And when you get clear, when you start letting those biophotons and those chromosomes work together, guess what? You begin to think on another level. You start having expanded thought. Your intuition comes and you say, no, I don't want that apple. I'll have this one. I'll eat this fruit. And this week, we're not going to eat it all. We're going to fast so I can begin to know myself again.
I spent 8 years working as a disease intervention specialist in Detroit. I went to people's homes every day to give them medication, to investigate their situation, to see how they were living. And what I learned in those situations were that people in the city didn't value their health. It's a predominantly black city. Health is not promoted per se. Though I worked for the organization that was supposed to promote good health, we primarily just put a Band-Aid on the problem.
Ignorance is a disease. It removes ease from life. When you don't know a thing, it removes ease. And the opposite of ease is dis-ease, not at ease. So ignorance is the biggest cause of disease in the so-called African American community. And when you act off of that which you are ignorant of, the consequences are damnable. And that's what you see. Colon cancer, so-called diabetes, which is really sugar diabetes, high cholesterol, fibroid tumors, menstrual complaints, and the list goes on and on to the break of dawn.
So when we look at someone who is diseased on a cellular level, what they're lacking is energy, all right? And if there's a lack of energy, then of course, then we'll get the cells beginning to die. We call it cellular necrosis or cellular apoptosis, when the cell actually just begins to break down because it doesn't have the fuel or the energy to operate. We could think of it like a car. You're driving down the highway, you got a full tank of gas, and you're good, the engine is running. As soon as you get close to E, what do? You pull over and you get you some more fuel. No one would try to run a car on E. So this is what is happening to our people. They're trying to run and operate, and they're damn near on E.
When we're not getting enough water, when we're not getting the right sunlight, when we're not getting enough exercise, now we have a situation where we can create inflammation. So you have something in your body, the white blood cells, which are much more of a problem than we've ever been taught before. The white blood cell is the colonizer that lives in your bloodstream, all right? So inflammation is based solely upon white blood cells' behavior. They secrete immunoglobulins into the blood plasma. They release cytokines into the blood plasma. Cytokines are chemicals that behave or mimic hormones, so they can tell your body's blood cells and other organs to behave ways outside of their natural paradigm. They release histamine into the body. The large release of histamine causes asthma, causes eczema, causes edema, bloating, causes hives, causes, a host of in fact, at the core of most allergies is substances that your body's exposed to that the white blood cells that live in you don't like.
We suffer from particular pathologies, or pathologies indicative of us being a black people or a melanated people. There's certain diseases that are indicative of us predicated upon what we eat, our diet. Sickle cell crisis. Man, it's pretty high amongst us. Colon cancer, rectal cancer, prostate cancer, breast cancer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. We got some diseases indicative of our diet, the black version of the SAD.
Isn't it interesting for people that have fibroid tumors, and I know a lot of people that are watching have it, when the doctor diagnoses you with fibroid tumors, he uses this terminology. He says your tumor is the size of a 3-month-old fetus, a 6-month-old fetus, a 9-month-old fetus. So this, in my mind, is saying that the womb is here to create, and that if we are not being creative, the womb, even if we're past the childbearing age, the womb says, look, you are not creating. And it's hard to create when you eat McDonald's every day and your mind and brain is stuck with salt and sugar and toxins, and so you're not creating. But that womb says, because a lot of young women that don't have children are diagnosed with fibroid tumors, that womb says my function is to create, and we're going to have a baby, but it's going to be made with all the garbage of your mind, your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings. It's going to be made of all of that. So we just going to give birth to the crap that you've been messing with, doing with, being with, dealing with, and it becomes this 3-month-old fetus that it looks like, but it's really not.
The Hispanic community, man, the sisters, the Latinas, they have fibroid tumors too. Menstrual complaint, everything we have. If you eat the same diet, you're going to have the same diseases. So that goes for white folks, Europeans, or Caucasians, whatever you choose to call them, Hispanics, Latinos, Asians, doesn't matter. If you are eating particular so-called foods and you're in a particular landmass and you're eating a particular diet, right? Certain foods constituting a particular diet, which is the SAD. And you're here in the capital of the matrix. You're in London, England, Puerto Rico, Jamaica. You're eating the same so-called foods of a particular diet. You're going to manifest disease that stem from that diet. The so-called foods, the fried chicken, and the meatloaf, and the bacon, and the scrambled eggs, and all pancakes, well, all that crazy stuff. I know they taste good, but that's an illusion. You're going to manifest particular diseases, and that's why certain diseases are higher in certain countries. You got to follow the diet.
So we have to know the science of food, and the science of food dictates to us that there's certain foods that grow above our arm's reach, some grow below our arm's reach, some grow within our arm's reach, some have high moisture, some have low moisture, some have fat, some have starch, some have sugar, and you got to know how these foods relate to your body. So if you don't know the body that you're living in, and you don't know how to harmonize with the rest of the universe from eating directly from the earth, and getting the earthly elements in your body so you can keep tune with the rest of the universe, then you're going to fall out of tune. You're going to fall off the planet and walk living dead. because you have destroyed your body, you have abused it, you have polluted it, you have made it diseased.
I look at parasites as a #1 cause for disease. And to talk about changing the way you eat, you're going to have to get rid of these parasites, because see, the parasites, they will keep you from changing. They tie into your nervous system. There's a parasite that loves sugar. You see, did you know there's a parasite that loves sugar that actually is the same parasite that loves cocaine? Asparagus. Almost everybody that's hooked on sugar, right, can easily be hooked on cocaine. Or the people that are on cocaine, it comes from sugar. The parasite asparagus craves sugar. So you eat sugar to feed this parasite, and you don't realize that it's controlling your life.
So the doctor puts you on insulin for the rest of your life, so you can keep eating more of the problem, more of the starch, so you could end up with the sugar blues multiple times, so that industry can keep moving forward. So you got to know your body, know thyself, so that you can heal thyself.
When most people have heart problems, all right, the heart attacks, etc., based on inflammation. Inflammation, especially in the heart, is caused by the plasma drying up. All right, so once that plasma dries up between the pericardium and the heart, every time your heart beats, that's going to be generating tremendous pain for the body and inflammation. When you have too much blood viscosity, meaning too much sedimentary stuff floating around in there from the excess proteins and nitrogen-based things that we're consuming, the white blood cell activity, releasing a host of what's called immunoglobulins that lowers the blood plasma's albumin level. So sometimes people go to the doctor and they get a urine test, and the doctor would say, well, you have too much protein in your urine. Usually the protein that's coming out in the urine is albumin. So as albumin is coming out, what that signals to the doctor is that you have an increase of immunoglobulins, which is proteins that are secreted in the blood plasma by white blood cells. So what that means is that you're going to have a disease popping up anywhere in the body. So it's just looked at as a broad sign of illness, because albumin is what carries the hormones from where the endocrine glands secrete them to where they're supposed to go. Albumin is what carries the vitamins. Albumin is what carries the nutrients that are circulating in the blood plasma.
Mucus is one of the #1 causative factors of disease in the physical sense, dealing with the manifestation of disease as far as physical disease, because all disease is first energetic. It's first in energy, and that's spiritual, that's emotional, that's mental.
Do you know eyesight? The reason why you don't see well when we wear glasses, and I've been a glasses wearer all my life, is because there's mucus behind the eyes. That's why we can't see.
When you deal with mucus, you're dealing with inflammation. Inflammation. Now, in the English language, we have what is known or called the suffix. And when we deal with the particular suffix itis, I-T-I-S, we're dealing with inflammation. Wherever you see itis, there is inflammation. And wherever there's inflammation, there is mucus, or phlegm. So, when you have vaginitis, you have itis in vagina, inflammation of the vagina. What's making the vagina inflamed? Mucus. Bronchitis, itis of the bronchi tubes. Bronchitis. Phlebitis. Nephritis. Meningitis. Hepatitis. And it goes on and on to the break of dawn. And good old doc will issue you 5 drugs for the same afflicted organ. It's crazy.
Disease is a business. Medicine is a business. Pharmacy is a business. Doctors, hospitals, they are business. And if you don't get sick, the economy is going to crash.
You can't even get in the hospital without an appointment. You sick? Well, you better get out there and wait in the waiting room. There's people out there shot that gotta wait. You understand what I'm saying? You come in here and you got a pork chop caught in your belly. Well, hey, that was your choice. All we can do is give you something to cover it up. We give you some Band-Aids. Or we can cut you. We're going to do something because you came up in here. You see, you've given us the jurisdiction. So now that we got jurisdiction, we're going to take control over your situation.
Here comes the drug dealers. Your doctor, the biggest drug pusher on the planet, give you temporary relief so you can eat more of the problem.
No part of the human body is made of a drug. So how can a drug heal you? Sister, what part of your body, what part of your reproductive system is made up of Midol? You mean to tell me because you got menstrual cramps, that denotes a Midol deficiency? Are you deficient in Midol because you have cramps, gas, and all of these other things that come during that time of the month? Is that a Midol deficiency? When you have a headache, is that an aspirin deficiency? Does that denote an aspirin deficiency? No, no part of your body is made up of aspirin. No part of your brain is made up of aspirin. So why are you taking an aspirin for a headache?
Medicine is always being practiced. It's not being perfected. That's why they call it, this is a medical practice. This is not perfection. And while we were filming this actual movie or documentary, I had a situation with one of my family members who was misdiagnosed and given the wrong medicine. Now, because she was given the wrong medicine, that led to her having to have a liver transplant. So all of a sudden we go from her feeling a little bit uneasy and then we putting her in a hospital to her having to be on a immediate liver transplant list. Now you can imagine the emotional trauma that my family went through so fast. We went from 1 week to, okay, she's in the hospital, to the next week to her life is on the line. All because a doctor prescribed her the wrong medicine.
I almost died at the age of 12. This was in 1982. Yes, I incarnated in 1970. At the age of 12, right after graduating from elementary school, I attended 107th Street Elementary School in South Central Los Angeles. Shortly after graduation, I fell terribly ill. And I was taken to the hospital. I was too weak to walk. My father had to carry me. And the doctors diagnosed me with bronchial asthma. And they told my mother I stood a 70% chance of dying. And I heard that. And at the age of 12, I had my second deep conversation with God. If you let me live, I'll be good. If you let me live, I will help people. It was just a prayer offered. My mother came in the next day and checked me out of the hospital against medical advice. This is the same woman that would have a nervous breakdown a month later because she couldn't deal with the thought of her child dying. And I remember the doctor telling my mother that I would have bronchial asthma for the rest of my life. But even at age 12, I never embraced that notion, that statement from the doctor. And I would live with bronchial asthma for 13 to 14 years, always thinking that there had to be a way, there had to be a way. But in 1995, I woke up one day. This was after months and years of private, individual, independent research on a whole lot of subjects. But around this time, it was about biology, anatomy, health, herbology. And I woke up one day, I said, you know what? I no longer believe in any of this bullshit. AIDS, diabetes, cancer, herpes. I no longer believe in the common cold. The common cold. Never had a common hot, never had a common warm, but there's a common cold. No, it don't make no sense. No more. I'm done. Shortly after that, I get off into herbs. Now, I'm the type of cat, after I learn something, I'm going to experiment with it. Because knowledge is really nothing if it's not applied. So I applied the knowledge and I experimented on myself with 3 herbs. Mullein leaf, cayenne, and fenugreek seed, all powdered. I put them in capsules and I took them for 2 weeks. And I spit up cups, globs of mucus, thick, yellowish, greenish mucus, phlegm, for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I could breathe again. It was like that Tony Braxton song, Breathe Again. I could breathe again. And I said, wait a minute. The doctor told me I would have this disease for the rest of my life. Now, how could a black man from South Central Los Angeles, California, who never went to college a day in his life, do something that professional medical doctors could not do? I healed myself from a so-called incurable disease. This goes back to, Christian folks, your Bible. With God, all things are possible. And I also say it another way. With knowledge, all things are possible. Your medicine must be natural. It can't be unnatural.
It's just so easy sometimes to fix some of these really drastic problems that our people are dying from if we can catch them early, and if people are disciplined to not only see the plan through in its duration, but after the fear has dissipated and they regain their health, if they can maintain it.
There was no history of cancer in my family. So it's not something necessarily that I could have prevented. However, it is something that I could have been more aware of the signs and symptoms of. I really thought that I was actually doing a great job. And I probably was for the environment that I was in. At the time, my significant other was a chef, a 4-star chef. So he provided healthy meals. He went to school for healthy meals. So I'm thinking that what I'm putting in my body is correct. It's full balanced meals with meat and starch and vegetables. A lot of it was prepared richly, French food. It was delicious. I was also getting fruits and vegetables and water, which makes me think that I was doing the right thing, but just maybe not now, knowing what I know, not enough of the right thing. When you first find out you have cancer, you have lots of questions. I listened to my doctor. I had several doctors, 22 in fact, and I listened to all of them. I asked several of them the same question to get several different answers from people who study the same books. The doctors thought that I would survive. I was a great candidate. I was healthy. My body was fit. It was prepared to bounce back. And I went through chemo radiation for 10 weeks. Went into remission for about 6 months. I was feeling great. I was doing well. I was back to work. And my body retaliated. It broke down again. You can't reverse the effects of radiation. There's no way to stop radiation from radiating in your body. So it was killing me, literally. I thought that if there was definitely a time to be ill, to be sad, to feel sick, this was it. I was going through it. The side effects of chemo and radiation will kill every little tiny good thing that you put in your body, along with every bad thing that's in your body. It can't differentiate between what's good for you and what's not. It just knows to kill everything, and hopefully the bad part will die somewhere in there. When I was told you have 2 weeks to live, those words still rang out in my head, and I couldn't believe it. I just thought that it was still my destiny, and I didn't feel like I was going to die, and I didn't know what 2 weeks left to live felt like, but I felt like I could get up and jog. So I figured it wasn't time for me to die, and I was prepared to fight. And I advised my doctor at that time, a new doctor, that if he wasn't prepared to fight with me, that I would find someone that was prepared to fight. It was more important for me to have the proper mindset going in to say, your destiny is totally up to you. You will live as long as you have the desire. You will get better if you have the desire. We went through the surgery that was required, very extensive surgery that was required. The doctors told me it would probably take me 18 to 24 months to recover in any capacity. It turns out 4 months later, I was at 85%. 6 months later, I was at 100%. Being able to come back from a feeble body to the successful person that I am right now is my mindset. I was dedicated to becoming who I was before I was sick. I stayed focused mentally, and because of that, I'm sitting right here right now in front of you. I think it is my job now to educate the youth and their parents to make proper decisions early in life. If you are taught for the first 18 to 20 years of your life to grab food through the drive-through window, for me to attempt to change that at 20 is very difficult. Your mindset has accepted the fact that what you eat is somehow nutritious for you, and it's not.
If you are eating a Eurocentric diet, that diet does not reflect your gene pool, especially if it's the SAD, the Standard American diet. Doesn't reflect your gene pool. That's a very acidic or acid-forming diet. Now, our diet is supposed to be an alkalizing diet, loaded with the green foods. See, we need the green foods because the green foods are rich in nutrition, including iron. We need the iron number 1 and the thiocyanate number 2. When we get both of those, we can kiss the regular anemia goodbye, and we can kiss the sickle cell anemia goodbye. As dietary-based iron anemia deficiency is solved by giving the body organic iron, so is the sickle cell anemia solved by giving the body dietary thiocyanate. That's how you knock out these various forms of anemia. That simple.
Anytime you hear the term autoimmune disease, that is that little white colonizer that lives in your bloodstream attacking your body. So if you have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, that means the white blood cells are moving all throughout your body like little packs of wolves and eating and nibbling on the various organs and glands in your body. If you have Hashimoto disease, they're attacking the thymus and the thyroid. If you have type 1 diabetes, they're attacking and eating your pancreas. If you have MS, they're attacking and eating the myelin sheath that covers the nerves. If you have any autoimmune disease, it just means that the white blood cells are now eating your body. So what stops white blood cells from eating the average person's body as opposed to people who come down with various forms of autoimmune disease? It's your body's electricity. Every organ in your body has to maintain a certain level of charge in order for it to remain healthy. Once that level of charge drops, it is almost on the verge of death. And once white blood cells smell that in the body, once they sense that in the body, because they have an HLA system which helps them find things that have a low charge, they start to eat it. All right, and you got a full-blown autoimmune disease, and the reason areas in your body lose charge is because of what you're feeding yourself.
Sickle cell anemia, sickle cell crisis, they are not diseases. They are nutritional deficiencies. They're based upon the diet.
So you better deal with that animal that you live in and put it under some manners, and the energy you put into training dogs and cats and all this other stuff, getting out there following some folks on about you gonna save the bald eagle or you gonna go save the zebra in Africa. You better save that beast that you're living in. That animal that you sleep in every night, you better say that's the most endangered species on the planet.
I totally give credit to me knowing how to eat properly, me educating myself on what to do. I learned more about my own body, about proper nutrition in 1 year than I had in the 37 years previous. So when I tell you what you put in your body is what you get out of your body, that is 100% the truth.
You know, there are a lot of people out there who say we pay taxes, and you know, so the government and the government associations or organizations, the health ones that is, you know, that they're supposed to address our needs. They're not doing enough for sickle cell. They're not doing enough for this. They're not doing enough for black men and prostate cancer. That's our responsibility.
So we need to look at these things that we're being told in another light and understand that the medical industry is a industry, and the industry has one purpose: to survive. And in order for it to survive, it cannot, will not, and will never give you the remedy to solving your own problems, because you wouldn't have to come back to them.
If you remove the toxins, you remove the disease, the pathology, the sickness. So I'm just doing my duty. I'm just doing my duty. And it's a duty that hits in a lot of areas. But a major part of my duty is addressing the health needs of my people.
The biggest causes of disease in our community, of course, the cause of all disease pretty much is food. And let's look at why are we one of the most diseased people in America? What have we eaten? What is our legacy when it comes to African American cuisine? Soul food?
This thing called soul food, I don't know about it in dietary science. I don't know where the term comes from, other than if you eat it, you won't have no soul. I just don't know where it comes from. What they need to say is this is colonial food or plantation food.
If you think about the enslavement Holocaust, if you think about this thing called slavery, I mean, there was if somebody was controlling your thoughts, your movements, the way you ate, and there were available fruits and vegetables. There were black people that came from Africa that were farmers. They knew how to cultivate the land. But I was reading all these slave narratives. I've been really getting into it. And the people talked a lot about the food. And one thing they did not get, they were not allowed to have the fruits or the vegetables or the whole bit. They were allowed to have enough to keep them going. And that was a lot of times some fat back or pork salt or whatever they could get their hands on. And they ate it and they thrived. And I think that because we've thrived on so little, we still are doing it. We still are thriving on so little. I mean, we are a bad people. And y'all know what I mean by bad. We are an awesome people. The fact that we can take little and make something out of it is amazing. But why are we still living like that?
They fed us like they fed cattle. We were listed as livestock. We were sold as stocks in bondage. Stocks in bondage, Wall Street slave market. We were sold in bondage in the Wall Street slave market. And we were livestock. So they're feeding us these scraps of food because that's what they did to the livestock. They fed them corn and high starch diet, which we are addicted to, which we call soul food. That's high starch. If we don't have it, we'll take fish and dump it in some carbohydrates called bleached white flour. That's starch. We're always eating the starch in the chicken and the fish and the shrimp. Starch, 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 and we don't get it. You can call it bread if you want, but it's still a starch. So we have the bread starch. Then we boil the bread and call it spaghetti and macaroni. That's still starch. We constantly eating all of this starch, and they put the slaves and the colonized blacks on a high starch diet, and we call that soul food.
Right now, you know, we're off the farm. All this about the isms and stuff that's holding us back, we're holding our own self back with that. This is us, you know, we're perpetuating it by talking about it over food.
Some kind of way we've romanticized this and made this into a loving thing. Let's eat some soul food. What are you talking about? I never seen it on the table in the paintings of the pyramids in my life. I've never seen a glass of milk, white sugar, or some damn pig feet. I just don't get it. And they're not pig feet because pigs don't have feet.
Then we had these movies. You know, come on. In soul food, grandma, She died because of the food. So what does the family do to celebrate after grandma's gone? They cook the same foods.
The problem with this soul food is that we associate it with our relatives, with our grandmother and our mother. My mother fixed me sweet potato pie. Sugar and put it with a potato is illogical. It's a wrong food combination. You don't put sugar with a potato. You don't put sugar with no damn beans. It's ridiculous in the first place. They don't combine together. They don't grow together. You putting a drug with a bean, calling it a whatever they call it, and they putting the sugar with the I get ticked off about the whole subject.
It's slave food. We done turned stuff that was unhealthy into a delicatessen. Meanwhile, we're turning our body into a graveyard.
Various forms of pork, the hog maws, the bacon, the ham, the head, the ears, the eyeballs, the intestines. I mean, we done got so crazy. We are grabbing out the actual organ of another animal that's loaded with shit. And we're eating that. Like, I can't even understand the psychology of people that are eating the organ that's designed to create feces. And we season it up and we love it.
And we get together at these meals, and what do people talk about? Who's sick? You know, old Jenkins, you know, he died the other day. You know, he had his last meal. He had one of them T-bone steaks and went there and went to sleep, and that was it. Maybe the T-bone steaks are what's causing the problem.
What does soul food do to the human body? To the African American body? Well, it's part of the SAD, Standard American Diet, but it's the black version. And unfortunately, it's the worst version. See, with us, a lot of things that are bad with us just happen to be the worst, the bad of the bad. And that's the case with soul food. It's acidic. It's acid forming, mucus forming. It's dead. Now I know the sisters over the years, the decades and centuries could burn. They could hook some stuff up. But just keeping it real, it was death.
You know, somebody will ask me, well, what's a black diet, right? So what a black diet has been traditionally is what we call soul food. So it's black-eyed peas, collard greens, white rice in some cases, yams, things that, let me say, by themselves, except for the white rice, they're not bad foods. There's actually not bad foods. I mean, black-eyed peas could be very nutritious, or yams, or collard greens. It's how we're preparing it.
We all know that cooking food actually kills the food and you don't get any nutrients in it, and then it destroys your digestive system and it makes you an alcoholic. So we don't need to eat that food. And also, it's always a bread that comes with it. That's gluten.
Starches don't break down in the human body when they have been killed, when they have been cooked, when the digestive enzymes have been destroyed. So you eat all that bread, all that potato, all that rice, all that pasta, and your body has to turn it into sugar for you to be able to utilize it. And when you cook it and you destroy that digestive enzyme, your body is not going to be able to turn it into sugar.
And it pulls the moisture out of the skin, causing the increase of lotion and creams that women have to buy, all because of this sugar and this concentrated food that they're eating called bleach white flour, called soul food, which they put the flour on the fish, on the chicken, on the shrimp, all of that. It's drying out the system, drying out the eyes, the teeth, the tongue, the hair. We're just dehydrating ourselves. And that's the problem with soul food. It causes an increased need of drinking water. But if you put sugar in the water, it's going to make you thirsty. It's a no-brainer. You put alcohol in the water, call it beer, it's going to make you thirsty. Then we thirsty, so we go get a soda, which dries it out, makes it thirsty. Then we get some beer, which dries it out, get another beer. Well, you've been miseducated, you've been had. That's what I'm trying to say.
I remember my beloved grandmother, Bertha Cooper, from Mississippi. All of the cornbread, candied yams, candied sugar yams. black-eyed peas, fried chicken, fish, the worst type of fish, catfish, and everything else that constitutes soul food. And then drinking a seriously toxic beverage called Kool-Aid that was made with half a bag of C&H unpure cane sugar. Straight insanity. Or milk. Cow's milk.
Why would we be drinking milk? You know, even for the Bible people, it says in the Bible that you drink milk after the age of 5. You're a babe. You're a child. You're not supposed to drink it. You don't make lactase. Lactase is the enzyme that breaks down lactose. So what this does is you get all this extra calcium in your body. You become calcified. That means your bones and everything have too much calcium. You know, you keep hearing these commercials about we need more calcium. That's not black folks. We're over-calcified. We need more magnesium. We need more vitamin C to break down the calcium we got. How can you tell people are calcified? Well, you look at people with arthritis. They're stiff. Their bones are fusing. And then you look at their attitude, and they're stiff. Now, I don't believe that. My doctor told me, and most people who are calcified they're calcium dominant in their personality. They're stuck. They will not change. And they keep doing something over and over expecting change, which, you know, this is insanity, but they don't see it. Why? Because they're domesticated animals. They can't see that the fence is down. You see, the fence falls down from the snow in the winter, and there's no fence, and the cows are still sitting in the middle of the farm. Look at the people.
Dairy products. That substance that comes from the mammary glands of another creature. It comes from the sexual reproductive system and glands or gland of another creature, a foreign creature. So inside the body of the human female, it does damage to the sexual reproductive system. The uterus is going to suffer, the ovaries are going to suffer, the fallopian tubes, plural, is going to suffer, the vagina is going to suffer. Everything of that system is going to suffer. Compliments of dairy. Milk chocolate is dairy. It's dairy. And by definition, milk is a protein. It's a protein. And because we're consuming so much dairy, we're suffering from protein malutilization.
It changes the way your body's hormones work. Hormones are chemical messengers. You see, your chemical messengers have already got the wrong message because they think that they're a cow.
What we have to understand is dairy products derive from milk from a cow, female animal. It comes from the mammary glands of a female animal. But inside the human female, that milk or anything made from that milk, dairy in nature, is foreign. It's foreign. And anything foreign in the human body goes to war with the human body and creates disease. It promotes a proliferation of white blood cells because white blood cells go on the attack. So when we deal with leukemia, leucose, white, that's what we're dealing with. Internal trash bags, fibroid tumors. Dairy is the #1 thing or substance that feeds fibroid tumor.
You can drink milk every day for a week, and you find out 7-8 days you got a little phlegm in your chest. All right, that is the milk having the inability to digest, and thus most African Americans, so-called African Americans, are said to be lactose intolerant. What does that actually mean to a scientist? To a scientist, that means that your body is unable to digest the lactose in the milk and that you're actually allergic to it. But by forcing yourself to constantly take it into your body, you build up so much mucus that you build up sort of like an adaptability to it, so you can take it in after a while. But if you stop it, and any one of us can take this experiment, if you on dairy products like milk or ice cream or something like that, stop it for a week or 2 weeks. And what you'll find out is that the mucus will come out and your chest feels cleaner and stronger, and if you go back to it, you feel sick.
I know a lot of black folks into yogurt right now. I keep hearing about this. Well, you know, Dr. B, how about yogurt, man? I got a lot of yogurt in the kitchen and now. Come on in, because I go to folks' houses, they show me the kitchen. They got all this yogurt. This is rotten milk. No, this is good. I was listening to Dr. Such and Such on television, and he said, so he told you to drink milk? Rotten milk. I don't care if it's yogurt, kefir, cheese, it's all rotten milk. You see, and you can't digest it. So what happens is it stores in your joints and your heart and your muscle and your kidneys, and this is why we are sick.
Morphine, casomorphine, is a natural product in breast milk in very small concentrations. But when you look at cheese, cheese concentrates the casomorphine together, so you're getting a wildly, abnormally high amount of morphine in each taste of the cheese. So that's why you love it so much, because it's releasing dopamine throughout your brain, just like a shot of heroin is in a heroin addict.
We as a people are definitely lactose intolerant. What is interesting, the same enzymes that make us lactose intolerant are the same enzymes that make us intolerant to meat, that make us intolerant to being carnivores, cannibals.
We come from a continent that has some morals about food. If you defame something that God made, it's going to defame you. If you do something to God's creation negative, it's going to do something negative to you. You can't just destroy God's products, His soil and His plants, and think you can get away with it. If you hurt the food and eat it, it's going to hurt you. The soul food diet is going to leave you with nothing but your soul.
And realize that the food has to be broken down by your body. If it can't be broken down, it's a poison.
Thy food shall be your medicine, and thy medicine shall be thy food. So if your food is not medicine, then your food is making you ill. So obviously, we owe a lot of our illness to soul food.
And what made the soul food taste good was really the herbs, the spices, just keeping it real. And it's really like that today, though they have replaced the herbs with chemicals such as salt, which is really nothing but crude oil extract. Most folks, they don't know that. It's not sodium chloride, but that's another story.
We have to get out of the programming that in order for something to taste good, it's got to have an amazing amount of salt on it.
The salt, man, it really does us in. That's a serious toxin. The box has a label that is very deceptive, because when you read ingredient, it says sodium chloride, but it doesn't list the 32 additional ingredients in order for us to have a smooth flow when we're pouring that crap into whatever it is we are preparing and preparing to consume to our detriment. And it's not real salt, because real salt is sea salt, and it's not white. It's more of a sand color, a light tannish color, unless it's solarized, bleached by solar energy, or solar light, I should say.
Table salt is really against the melanated person. It really is destructive to your being. And you can live without salt. There are sea salt, there's Himalayan sea salt, there's black lava salt, there's black salt, there's gray salt, there's Celtic sea salt. You got choices, brothers and sisters.
What people find is when they start to limit their salt content in foods, they actually taste the flavor of the actual food more, and with time they come to appreciate that this food actually has this flavor even on its own, and the palate and the taste buds begin to actually like food without salt. So it's kind of going back to nature, what the food is supposed to taste like.
Food actually has a natural taste without salt, without seasoning. But our taste buds become debilitated when we actually start eating heavily spiced foods, heavily salted foods, heavily sugared foods. So that when a lot of people say to me, Sister Nubia, I tried that vegan stuff. The food was bland. I didn't like it. And I would say to you, it's your taste buds. It's not the food. And that you could actually revitalize your taste buds when you start eating vegan foods that taste delicious.
The great thing about it is not only is the flavor enhanced so you enjoy eating it, but oftentimes if it's a herb, there's an extra added benefit. Like if you flavor your food with turmeric, there's some anti-inflammatory properties, or it's good for arthritis, or you can use herbs to spice your food that also have an additional benefit for your health.
And look, I'm not talking from a perspective of I've been a raw foodist, vegetarian, vegan all my life. I grew up on pork chops, hamburgers, French fries, fried fish, and I loved it. So we're coming from the same place. I'm from Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York, okay? We was not having no fresh fruits and vegetables, and I never met a vegetarian at that point in my life, and I never thought I could be one.
Being from Sierra Leone, my diet was a little different growing up than my friends. First of all, we didn't do a ton of fried food. Definitely different from my African American counterparts, but what we really didn't have was any sweets.
To eat sweets and cookies and pies and stuff like that, that was like an extra treat for us because that was something we didn't eat all the time.
I would go to other people's houses and look in the pantries, and it was a little different than what we had at home because it was like snack mania over there. But for us, I mean, anybody that came over there, like, your family is just way too healthy.
You know, you switch snacks with your friends, but they never wanted what we had because it would always be fruit and wouldn't be cookies and candy and all of that kind of stuff.
Man, sugar is the #1 drug on the planet. Sugar is the #1 drug in the universe. Sugar is a drug. More people die from sugar in a single day than all of the people who die from all of the so-called illicit or illegal drugs in 1 year, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years.
One can of soda's got 9 tablespoons of sugar. 9 tablespoons of sugar is 30 feet of sugar cane. One soda.
So sugar in its sugar cane grass is fine, but once you take it out, you have created a drug. You've isolated and concentrated a substance. That's what a drug is by definition. That's what makes sugar a drug.
But nevertheless, God, and I'm talking about government here now, I'm gonna piss some people off. What you mean, God, government, goddammit, your God, through his FDA, has said sugar is a food that is generally recommended as safe. So sugar is in everything.
So we're eating a lot of things that are labeled as food, but are technically a drug. And that's the primary problem with sugar. Then we have this visual effect of it being white, which makes it all right. That's a visual propaganda that's put into the equation. Sugar is associated with emotions. The food industry feeds on our emotions. They make us emotionally crazy, and then they know how to market things to us.
I believe that when you don't have a lot of sweetness in your life, you're going to crave sugar. So sugar is a substitute for love and nurturing and healing. If you think about our legacy, life wasn't that sweet. So at least we're going to find something that's going to make that day feel better, our lives feel better, our minds for a moment feel better.
We are trying to seek love from our slave master or from each other. And we were taught not to trust those niggas on the other plantation. We were taught not to trust each other. We were taught that if I love my wife and she sold, it'll be painful. If I love my child and he sold, it'll be painful. So we don't love each other that much because of the pain of losing each other through slavery. So emotions are involved in the sugar. We're trying to get the love that we cannot allow ourselves to achieve in a normal relationship because we're not in a normal relationship. We're trying to seek love, and we medicate that inability to give love and receive love with sugar. Sugar is very addicting, just as nicotine is addicting, just as caffeine is addicting. All these are isolated. Cocaine, opium, all of these isolated chemicals are addicting. So we develop an addiction to the sugar, and we have the inability to achieve love and affection, so we emotionally want the sugar so we can have something we can't manifest in our lives.
See, when we deal with the metaphysical causes of sugar, excessive sugar consumption, sugar addiction, it's of an emotional state. See, emotions and tastes are tied together. See, we got food that's sweet, then we got people that are sweet. He's so sweet. This is sweet. And then we got salt, and then we got people who are salty, and then we got the taste that is bitter, then we got people who are bitter. There's a connection, food and emotions. So when you look at people in general, but females in particular, and they're hooked on sugar, the root cause, man, is a lack of sugar, or as we used to say back in the day, sugar, which is love and affection.
Sugar helps us get through the day, so we think, right? Sugar helps us get through our lives, the job we don't like, the relationship we don't like, the lifestyle that we're living.
Sugar is the driving force. Even if you weren't into sugar, somebody kept saying sugar to you all day, you say, well, maybe I ought to try that. They keep saying it. So we got to stop saying sugar, honey. Hey, how you doing, sweetie? We talk like a crackhead all day. So after a while you say, I better try some sugar.
Why do you think Americans are becoming so fat? Or let me be politically correct, becoming so obese. And especially our sisters, they are becoming grotesquely obese. Sugar. Sugar converts into fat in the body. And the female body has 5 fatty reserves: upper arms, breasts, belly, buttocks, and thighs. That's where they hold fat. If you look at the sisters, grotesquely fat or obese, and in those areas. Sugar. Sugar. And most of them won't deny it.
I used to love sugar, y'all. I loved Kool-Aid. I'm telling you the truth, I loved Kool-Aid, and look, Kool-Aid was mostly sugar. So why was I loving the Kool-Aid? It was red too, and something about red, and black folks, we love the color red. That's my favorite color. So sugar and red, and it's alluring.
The thing about sugar is, sugar, especially man-made sugar in our bodies, it's a physiological process that happens and it causes you to crave.
You're craving sugar, or you're desiring sugar because you're trying to fulfill some part of yourself. And this is why, let's disconnect from food in that way. Let's use food to make us feel better, because food is supposed to make you feel better. So black people, you're on the right track.
Sisters who are getting love in life, women who are getting love in life, in most cases, they don't have the sugar addiction. Even if a woman is single, but she loves herself, she's worked on herself, she's balanced, she don't have any hang-ups on sugar, and Twinkies got to have Twinkies and snot gandas or hot gandas. No. Kit Kats all in the damn refrigerator, Snicker bar, Jokers and shit, but it can open up a goddamn concession stand. No, they don't. You don't find that. But the ones who not getting the love and affection, no boyfriend, no man, various reasons, sugarholics, man. Sugarholics.
Your teeth are going to rot out, and you'll probably be senile, which you already are anyway. Our children are already senile. That's why they're forgetting things. Attention deficit and senility has the same definition in the medical textbook. Where's your homework? I don't know. Where'd you put your teeth? I don't know. They're forgetting things. At 7 years old, they're senile from eating all of this sugar.
Sugar is definitely related to overweight, obesity, diabetes, and a host of other health conditions. A lot of times sugar is masked in the foods that we eat.
Sugar is put in a lot of products, and it doesn't say sugar on the label. It may say glucose, it may say dextrose, it may say dextrin. It will use other names other than sugar. So we got to know the chemical names for this chemical called sugar. The thing is, in chemistry, we switch the names of things. We can call a B vitamin, say niacin, which is basically vitamin B2. We can call it by the Greek deity name of niacin, or we can call it B2, or we can give it a color name, riboflavin. We name things by colors, by numbers, and by the deities. So you don't know which one the chemist is using. And to make matters worse, he doesn't know either.
That's right. To talk about changing the way you eat, you're going to have to get rid of these parasites, because see, the parasites, they will keep you from changing. They tie into your nervous system. There's a parasite that loves sugar. You see, did you know there's a parasite that loves sugar that actually is the same parasite that loves cocaine? Asparagus. Almost everybody that's hooked on sugar, right, can easily be hooked on cocaine. Or the people that are on cocaine, it comes from sugar. The parasite asparagus craves sugar. So you eat sugar to feed this parasite. And you don't realize that it's controlling your life.
Sugar is hidden in everything. If it doesn't say it, the brother's right. Sugar's in bacon, sugar's in probably steak and ground beef or ground chuck. That's what I grew up on. We didn't get the beef, it was the chuck. All these things. And so look at it in a different way. When you start to crave sugar, ask yourself, what is not sweet about my life? What do I need to bring into my life to fulfill and stop filling ourselves up with empty calories like sugar and fill ourselves up with love? That's real sweet. Try that remedy. Put it in the pot, stir it up, eat it. It's good for you.
When I deal with the sisters who are ready to knock out the sugar addiction, before I recommend a herb such as Gymnema sylvester or stevia, a licorice root, a jambo seed, so we first got to deal with your emotions. There's no product for that. That's willpower. So we deal with that. And we got to deal with the daddy and the mommy and just all the lack, all the abuse and just everything. Deal with that. Then we deal with it physically. And you know what? Many of them overcome that addiction when they learn to love themselves. And they show affection toward self. And then they start attracting it from others. Because when they start loving themselves and show the affection towards self, they start working out and they start doing things to burn that fat. And life changes for them. And the next thing you know, they are attracting love into their lives. And so they replace the synthetic sugar or the inorganic sugar made by man with the organic sugar that comes from God, if you will. And they're straight and they're good. And I've seen that. It can happen. You can heal. You can beat the sugar addiction. You can lick the habit. Marijuana. And does it promote creativity? All we got to do is look at the entertainment community, especially the rappers. They smoke weed a lot. They endorse the smoking of weed a lot for purposes of creativity. What's up with that? I was cool with a well-known rapper. I won't say his name because I like the brother. He's a good brother. But he hit me with that. You smoke weed to make me creative. Motherfucker, creative? What have you created? Your albums get more degenerate. as you make new ones. The new shit is more degenerate than the previous one. That ain't no goddamn creativity. You're bringing your people down. That's creativity? The weed make you creative? No, sapsucker. The weed eat up your goddamn brain. All of my uncles smoke weed. My paternal uncles, they're all dead from cancer. I don't want to hear that weed, medicinal, therapeutic, creativity, spiritually enhancing talk. I don't want to hear that shit.
If I take the cocaine out of the cocoa leaf, then the cocaine is going to harm me. But as long as it's in the leaf, no problem. If I take the heroin out of a poppy seed, opium out of a poppy seed, then the opium is going to harm me. But as long as it's in the poppy seed, you can eat poppy seeds all day. The thing is, we have concentrated and isolated a chemical in the plant. And once you concentrate and isolate a chemical, by definition, it's a drug.
Man, as much weed as brothers have smoked over the years, man, we should have about 200,000 brothers smarter than so-called Jesus and Buddha and Confucius. If weed is supposed to make you so goddamn creative, some cats say it make them more spiritual. Open up portals. Well, there's nothing necessarily wrong with opening up portals, but hell, what's on the other side of the goddamn portal?
There's no way I can give marijuana, get a moron to smoke some weed and then call him a genius. He's still just a moron high on weed. It does not elevate your intelligence. Or else we've been free a long time ago with all these weed smoking Negroes.
We got to rethink this whole weed smoking thing. I'm sorry, we got to. Because I saw what weed smoking can do to an individual through my pops and my uncles and cousins. It makes you forget. It affects memory. And the audience knows that. They know it. Like, damn, cuz I can't remember, man. Like, shit, man, I've forgotten. What's up with that, man?
Smoking weed is technically incorrect. You're after the oil in the plant, called a weed. You're after the oil in the tobacco, called nicotine. That's what you're oiling yourself. You're not smoking yourself.
We gotta ask questions. If you smoke this stuff here and you get the so-called munchies, you're hungry. Something is going on inside your body. Hunger is the result of a chemical reaction in the brain. It goes back to the brain. Hunger is controlled by an aspect of the brain. So if you're smoking weed every day and you're getting the munchies, man, I'm hungry, man, let's go get some cookies, let's go get some chips, let's get some Cheetos. What the hell is this stuff doing to your brain?
You have a concentrated oil that's going to the liver. And the liver says, I only understand the whole plant. If you gave me the whole plant, I would be fine. If you gave me the whole wheat, I would be fine. But all you give me is the oil from the wheat, and the body's not used to that concentrate. So it has to pull moisture from the tissue to dilute the oil. And once it pulls the moisture, it's also pulling the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids. So it's starving the body. And it's causing the body to go into sympathetic stress reaction.
You're hungry? You're forgetting shit. It ain't like you really could remember stuff in the first damn place, but you're forgetting shit. Breath stinking. Lips getting black. Creativity. All of that to get creative? No. Heck no. Mott don't buy that.
So the body, once it goes sympathetic stress, it's fighting a crisis. And when you're fighting a crisis, you don't need to eat food. If you're running from a fire in your house, you don't need to go to the bathroom because you're going to burn up your behind. So you shut down your excretory system, your reproductive system, And you shut down your long-term memory too.
And I know we got a lot of people out there, all people, you know, we're Moors, we're Hebrews, we're Asiatics, we're Rastafarians, and I mean, I know the Rastas, that they gonna see this and like, he crazy. This, what's wrong with him? He need to smoke some weed. Sorry, beloveds, sorry. You cannot go back in time and find the people smoking weed every single day.
I just don't remember seeing Imhotep and Ramesses III and II and Hatshepsut smoking some weed. I just don't remember these things. I don't know where they get it from. I don't remember passing weed around at the Last Supper.
Now, we do have the herbal opiates. And a lot of the opiates were used for divination purposes, such as oneiromancy, which is divination pertaining to dreams for purposes of predicting the future. And that was something that was traditional with the shamans, witch doctors, those type of individuals. And they didn't smoke that stuff every day. They didn't smoke the herbal opiate every day. Now the Rastas smoking the stuff every day. Creativity, spirituality, they should be leading the world in creativity and spirituality. And they don't. No offense, I'm just keeping it real. But they don't. It's an excuse, beloved.
You cannot give some weed to a baby. He's going to cough and say, I don't want it anymore. You can't give him some alcohol. That burns. I don't want it anymore. They have more sense than to take that stuff. They have a natural reaction. But once you have embalmed this person with preservatives in meat, chicken, fish, dairy, candy bars, sodas, you have embalmed them, which means you have retarded their ability to think. The people are walking around embalming themselves.
You got people out there who would say, hey man, weed is medicinal. Weed is therapeutic, man. It prevents and or heal or cure disease. Well, how come people who smoke weed are dying from cancer and other fatal diseases?
We have to understand the process of chemistry. When you isolate and concentrate one substance out of a plant, you've made a drug. Isolate the substance you call cocaine out of the cocoa leaf, you have a drug. You isolate the opium out of the poppy seed, you have a drug. You're isolating by heat. You put heat to a leaf, and that causes the moisture to leave, and you're concentrating a substance. And that substance is the oil in the leaf.
When we look at these things, and when I look at my clients, I can have people come to me and I can do blood work on them and do other types of tests on them and say, why do you have so much nicotine in your body? They say, well, I never smoked in my life. And I ask them what types of foods that they eat, and I find out they're buying low-priced foods from conventional markets that have pesticides and other fertilizers in them that, of course, have these things in them, nicotine and other things in them.
Just the niacin alone that's on your cereal, your commercial cereal's niacin comes from nicotine. Nicotine. This already makes you predestined to want to smoke.
And the Native Americans did not smoke tobacco. They brought the tobacco into the mouth, but they didn't inhale. See, they blew it out. And it purified and opened your aura. Cigarettes don't do that. Cigarettes close the chakras. It impairs the aura. 1,400 toxic chemicals. Don't make no sense. You know, nicotine addiction. They don't put the patch on your arm. We're going to control the flow of nicotine. We're going to take the nicotine away from the cigarette, the symbolic white man's penis. We're going to take it away from the cigarette. I mean, that's what it is. Symbolic white man's penis. And we're going to put a damn patch on your arm and give you some nicotine through your arm to control it. Motherfucker, you're still on nicotine.
So once you go into that reaction, it decreases the blood to the digestive system, immune system, reproductive system, and excretory system, and increases short-term memory. That's what happens when you take a concentrate, be it white sugar, white flour, or the oil in weed, or the oil in tobacco. All of them are chemicals that's going to cause the same reaction in the body.
But you know, man, the ancient people, they smoke weed, man. The Native Americans, they smoke, yeah. But they weren't like you. They didn't smoke that shit every day. Because they were not stressed out every day like we are, like you are. Over child support, IRS after your ass, traffic tickets, court. Motherfucker, you're stressed out. And that's why you smoke the goddamn Philly blunts. And the Buddha and the chronic and all that other crazy shit.
This is all based on emotions. We're emotionally ill people, and we seek an emotional solution, and we're picking the wrong thing. We're only free to choose the wrong thing when you're oppressed.
When you are dependent upon a substance outside of the human body, you're dependent on it. It represents imbalance. There's an imbalance inside the individual. What am I saying? Are rosters imbalanced? It can be whoever. If you gotta smoke weed or anything else every day, imbalance. And another name for imbalance, dis-ease. I don't want to hear nothing about marijuana and curing disease and curing cancer and preventing cancer. I don't want to hear that. My father smoked weed every day of his life, except for the last 6 months of his life. And you want to know why he didn't smoke it the last 6 months of his life? Because he had cancer.
I think one of the largest misrepresentations of truth is this thing about the genes. It's in the genes. It runs in the family. I realized in my family that, almost everybody on my mother's side got cancer of some sort. Almost everybody. And, I went to the doctor and they were talking about how I probably was going to get it. And I need to get this prostate checked, just before they put that big glove on and stick it down in that lard or whatever it is that they about to, I'm saying, whoa, hold on now, wait, let's talk about this. You say it runs in my family, I probably have it. But my grandmother and grandfather didn't have it. Their grandmother and grandfathers didn't have it. So when did it start running in the family?
And people always talk about, well, Sister Nubia, my daddy had diabetes, it run in my family. And I say, well, who told you that? The doctor. And I'd be like, really? And they'd be like, and high blood pressure and hypertension, and they got every name for what they got, and they go and get because their mother and father had it. And this is my belief. I don't believe that those so-called diseases that I know for a fact is food-related diseases or non-food-related diseases have anything to do with your genetics.
When a child is born and you're looking primarily at people of African descent having their children born, rarely do you see a child bringing on deformities or diseases that the parent has, especially diseases like diabetes or high blood pressure. These things are acquired through the habits of the parents.
By the age of 2 years old, parents are feeding their children table food. So the same thing that the mother and the father eats is what the children are going to eat. And the same illnesses that the mother and the father have are what the children are going to have, because they're giving them the same type of food. They're building the same type of body.
Man, let me tell you, now I understand why Grandma Sis suffered from arthritis, rheumatism, gout, headaches, and all of the other degenerative diseases she suffered from. Same thing with my uncles, my aunties, and even my cousins. Even in 2014, suffering from the same diseases as the relatives of the 1970s, 1960s, 1950s in yonder, because it's the same diet. See, that's what we pass down to generations. the same bad diet. Yo man, diabetes, it running my family. Well hell, you make it seem like diabetes got leg and running the damn marathon. What the hell you mean diabetes running your damn family? No, it's the same inferior, insalubrious diet that runs in your family.
The habits of eating greasy foods, it's the habits of eating fried foods, it's the habits of eating lots of meat and no vegetables. Now that's passed on, and I can tell you, I know people who have been, their mother and father had diabetes, their mother and father even died of symptoms related to diabetics, and the children themselves did not have it because they decided to change their lifestyle, because they decided to get more into plant-based diet, more into raw foods, more into healing, more into sitting in the sun. I mean, these things that black folks are so afraid of is the very things that keep us alive.
Genes are like a blueprint. You get a blueprint for a beautiful house. You go buy the property. You got the land. Go take the genes or the blueprint and lay it on the land. Will you have a house? Somebody got to build that house. The only thing that blueprint is possibilities. Each gene has 10,000 possibilities. A cancer gene, the cancer is only one out of the 10,000 expressions of the cancer gene of what it could be. It's only a cancer gene because that's what you've told it to be right now. You believe in cancer. You believe in it. You heard all about it. It's been in the news for the last, since you've been around. Cancer. Everybody, gets cancer. You see, your uncle died from cancer, your cousin died from cancer, Bobby died from cancer, cancer. So you begin to believe in it. Cancer means retrograde. Cancer means, it's like the crab, cancer the crab, it doesn't walk forward, it walks to the side or back. It's retrograde. Cancer is when you begin to move against your original self. You begin to think and eat in such a way where you're going against the natural law, retrograde. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's only a quality. Qualities can easily be changed by your thinking, your eating, detoxification, right? Cleansing and rejuvenation.
How could I inherit a disease from my mother if I'm eating the way I'm eating today, that I'm not eating the way my mother ate? And my mother, at the age that way I am now, when she was at that age, she already had 6 surgeries. And my brother, younger than me, 8 years younger than me, died of a massive heart attack. And I don't have that. My brother, older than me, have his foot cut off. My brother, 1 year older than me, died of 2 forms of cancer. My sister is vegetating, living dead right now. And I'm 66. And I don't see that as part of my inheritance, as part of my legacy.
Doctors are not associating nutrition with disease, primarily because even though they do know that nutrition has a big part in making us sick, they have an industry to continue to uphold. And as they uphold that industry, they're not going to undo making more money by educating you on the proper things to eat, and also letting you know, if you divorce yourself away from the habits of your parents, you might find out that the diabetes or the high blood pressure will either never appear, or if it does appear, you can actually get yourself off of it.
The problem is, black people take these theories as facts. The free radical is a theory, gravity is a theory, heredity is a theory, the DNA theories. These are all theories, but we're taking them as facts, and no one in science has ever written fact on these things in any science book. Heredity, death is hereditary. That's the only thing I really know. Death is hereditary. The rest of it, I don't know anything about.
I have a mother who had 4 bouts with cancer. She had cancer of the throat, she had cancer of the breast, she had cancer of the lymphatic system, she's had cancer in the uterus. I had a father who had cancer. I'm 38 years old. I can dunk a basketball. I can still run a 4.4 in the 40-yard dash. I can do all the things that I was doing when I was 20 years old. So according to Western medicine, since my parents had cancer, one day I should have cancer. But you can run tests on me all day, and if I stay on this diet, you'll never see 1 drop of cancer in my body. And it's only because of the myths we've been told that we believe in these things. So I can look at my mother and my father today, and although they've been through all these cancer bouts, I can go right down to Columbia, South Carolina right now, and my mother for the last 13 years has had not one problem with cancer, all because she's decided to do one thing, and that's change her nutrition. And by changing the nutrition, she rid herself of the stress being caused by the high levels of toxicity in the body. That toxicity in the body having a strain on the cells, a strain on the blood, a strain on the organs, and that strain on the organs causes us to do the things that we do. We get in arguments and fights and other things, and we don't understand that these things can be induced by poor nutrition.
So this lifestyle of being healthy, it's holistic. But a lifestyle of being unhealthy, it's holistic as well. Holistic in that if we don't eat right, if we don't get enough sun, if we don't drink enough clean water, if we don't go out in nature, we're probably going to be sick, and we're going to pass down that behavior from one generation to the next.
We're talking about this genetic thing and say, well, my mother did it and I got it from her. And no, you got the social conditioning from her. You got the behavior from her. You didn't get this diet from her. You didn't get this disease from her. You got the social behavior that causes the disease. Frying the food, salt, bleached white flour, white sugar. That's the social conditioning that caused the disease, but you did not get the disease from her. That's unscientific. That's emotional. And that's what we use to make you take a drug. We use fear. If you don't take this drug, you're going to die of cancer in 2 years. That's how everything is sold. Fear is the leading thing to sell. I fear God. I feel the wrath of God. Fear sells everything because we don't understand the psychological process, the emotional process. The emotional process, you came out of darkness into the light from your mother's womb.
So the reason why this stuff runs in the family, because your habits run in the family. Your food runs in the family. Your thinking runs in the family. Your non-spirituality runs in the family. You think you're spiritual. Spiritual means to be spiritual. To be expanding and growing. That's spiritual. That means you were here, now you're here. You see what I'm saying? Started at the bottom, now I'm here.
Here's the thing about water and why a lot of people, including a lot of vegans and health conscious people, don't drink a lot of water. There's really a great reason for that. It's because the water is contaminated. It really doesn't taste good.
I know people who don't drink any water all day. A half of a bottle of water. 8 ounces of water is not enough to flush your system. You think that you drink tea and it's water-based? It's not water.
If we don't know how the body functions, then we really don't know what to put in the body. Now, one of the things that is crucial to understanding the black body is our relationship to the sun, our relationship to light, and that being our number one main, most important food source. Second would be water, which keeps the plasma levels in every area of the body healthy.
I remember growing up in the 1970s in South Central Los Angeles, and the water, especially at my grandmother's house, my paternal grandmother's house, the water tasted good. Really, I know it probably sounds crazy. What do you mean water tastes good? I mean, that water really tasted great. It was water that it made you look forward to going to grandma's house because the water tasted good. Nowadays, you got fluoride, chlorine or chlorine, which is bleach, and a host of other chemicals. So people would rather drink soda pop. Effervescent acidic soda pop, lattes, milk, coffee, hot cocoa, wine, anything but water.
I used to be a pop drinker, and I felt very dehydrated. I used to drink a lot of processed juice because that was my way of saying, okay, well, this is better than pop, but it's still processed juice. It has a ton of not good sugars inside of it, and my skin was having a pimple party, and I'm not a fan of that, so I know my ladies can relate to that. So I decided that I was going to start trying to drink water. Our bodies are, made about 70% of water, so we need water, and we're losing water daily, especially if you sweat. Now, I used to work in Las Vegas, and it's super duper hot there. I actually used to work outside in the sun in 120-degree weather, so there I've gotten dehydrated there so many times because I just was not drinking enough water.
So in 2009, I'm drinking 3 bottles of water thinking that I'm doing fantastic. I'm a beast. I'm working out every day, drinking 3-4 bottles of water. It turns out in 2013, I find out that is not even close to being the minimum amount of water that is required. I am supposed to be drinking half of my body weight. When I introduce that to people nowadays, they're just as shocked as I was.
People tell you drink half, and drinking half is good. But that's in ounces, not in pounds. So don't try to drink 200 pounds of water. You're going to kill yourself.
So I just started realizing the more water I drank, like my skin was clearing up, like it's amazing, and it flushes you. I've had an issue with my digestive system, so when I'm drinking water, it helps to flush things out, and that's what you want.
Water is going to serve as the conduit to move everything throughout the body. The biggest, most important part to your health, I don't care what anybody tells you, is going to be water.
And it takes time for your body to get to a point where it's actually going to utilize the water properly, even after you're drinking it. But that's something that you don't know ahead of time, and it's not readily available to you unless you're looking for the answers.
Certain places in your body where the plasma starts to dissipate, you will start to lose function in those areas. So, and some of those things that we attribute to age is just a misunderstanding of how our body and how it operates. So as we get older and the plasma at the bottom of our ears starts to dry up, we lose hearing. So we associate that with aging, but in fact, it's losing plasma, and you lose that by not keeping yourself properly hydrated with the right amount of water. And when you're dealing with the right type of water, you're dealing with negative ion concentration, because that's what plasma is based on. The best water to drink is as close as you can get back to nature, spring water. Okay, well, we heard about alkaline. Alkalinity should be based on mineral content, not synthetically, chemically induced, machine-induced alkalinity.
Now I tell you this, if you want some good water, filter or purify that water first and foremost, alkalize it where the 8 alkaline minerals dominate the water, magnetize the water for softer water, because regular water is hard water. People talk about soft drinks, soda pop. No, the real soft drink is soft water, and that's magnetized water. So purify, filter the water, magnetize the water, alkaline the water, which we could say is microclustering the water, because we're separating the minerals, the alkaline minerals from the acid minerals, or the minerals high in oxygen from those high in hydrogen. We're separating. We're microclustering. We're breaking down the water molecules, but we're also separating. So we have various processes. But then you ozonate or oxygenate the water. That's the second best water after what nature produces. That water tastes good. I have people driving all over the city of Los Angeles, coming to Glendale, California, just for my water. But that's why a lot of people are not drinking water. They're not drinking half their body weight in water. There's a reason for that, a great reason. And the biggest reason is what I just explained.
I find that a lot of people who say that they're religious or even spiritual may not be following the natural laws of that particular belief system. A lot of people are basically renegades, and they're like rebels without a cause. And they read the books, or they read the whether it's the tablets or whatever it is, you know, the sutras, and they don't follow it. They change it, they edit it for their own needs. They're selfish. No, I'm going to eat this way, even though they say don't eat this way. That was, you know, that was 10,000 years ago. That was 20,000. That was 5,000 years ago. So people begin to eat based on their own ego, based on their habits, based on them feeling like they were, you know, a downtrodden people.
I think about it, and I'm not even a Christian. I gotta honestly say to you, I don't know the Bible well, but what I know about it is that there are dietary laws in the Bible, and when I look around in most Christian churches, when people are coming out on Sunday, we're not looking that good. The preacher ain't looking good either now. Everybody, matter of fact, they'll tell you, I got the sugar in the blood, and I got hypertension, and I got all these diseases, and my mind keeps thinking, but it's written in the book to tell you how to eat.
Our people don't read. You know, we go to church, we like to clap and raise our hand, hallelujah. We groove, but we don't read, man. We don't read as much as we love Jesus. We don't read even if Jesus said read. I love you, Jesus, but I don't know about that reading, you know. I watch the news. I listen. I'm on YouTube. They don't read. And then, is there any wonder why they're sick? Come on. My people perish for a lack of knowledge.
People who study the Bible that are a part of Christianity usually follow the standard American diet. So with that being said, I think that, you know, that it's just a major problem. Until we can get certain people into those churches, teaching some healthy habits and lifestyle, letting people know that you don't actually have to live with diabetes, you don't have to live with heart disease, that they actually could be eliminated with a different state of mind and a different live it, or as opposed to diet, I think that will change anything.
A lot of these belief systems that keeps you on the concrete, you see what I'm saying? It keeps you stuck, it keeps you calcified, basically causes more disease. It's the perfect plan, you see? But if you were truly into a certain belief system, you would follow the laws. Like in Christianity, you have to go back to Leviticus. It said, first of all, basically what I see is it says don't eat anything not made by God. Well, you got a lot of food to get out your kitchen, your cabinet. That's not made by creation. It was never here. It's brand new. Funyuns. What the heck is that? What is it? I just want to know what it is. It ain't an onion. It ain't fun. You see, you put words together. You see what I'm saying?
Remember, most of our beloved Christian brothers and sisters go by the Bible. Literally. It's right there, and they go right on by it to the kitchen for a pork chop sandwich.
We've become rebels without a cause. You see, and if some of these prophets came back right now and saw what we were doing, I don't know if they would take too kindly. You see, because a lot of us, what we've done is we've created hell on earth instead of begin to create heaven on earth. You see, by being true lovers again instead of haters. You want to talk about everybody else. So the vegans is talking about the meat eaters, right? The raw food is talking about the vegans. You see, the Christians is talking about the Muslims talking about the Jews, the Republicans is talking about the Democrats, the tall is talking about the short, the dark is talking about the light. This is the perfect thing to divide the people. Now what happens in your mind when you are fractionated, when you're separated in yourself, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, all separate? You're easily controlled.
If you're a Christian, you're supposed to have a book called Bible. Like if you're an American citizen, you're supposed to have a document, a little booklet called Constitution, U.S. Constitution. Well, the Bible is supposed to be the constitution of Christians. If they would go in that book called Bible and go to, for example, Revelation 22:2, they would read that the leaf shall be for the healing of the nations. Not the drug, but the leaf. So we got to ask our beloved Christian brothers and sisters, why are you guys on drugs? For your glaucoma, your diabetes, your cancer, your fibroid tumors, your genital herpes, diseases God never heard of.
83% of us are actually Christians, and I understand that if we did follow the Bible, then we probably wouldn't have a lot of the dietary problems that we do have now.
I mean, our Christian brothers and sisters would be better off by going by the dietary prescriptions of the Bible. They would be better off. But they follow man more than they do God. Yeah, they do. And I'm just keeping it real.
As the scripture says, but it says, know ye the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Because truth is only a lie to those who do not believe.
Ezekiel 47:12. Telling you the fruit is for food, and the leaf, here we go again, the leaf shall be for medicine. And we don't want no fruit. We want meat. Meat, motherfucker, meat! We don't want no damn fruit. The fuck you want us to be skinny like your ass? Fuck that, we meat eating motherfuckers. And we believe in God, even though we don't read his book.
But what we have to do is get back to love again. You see, feed your family in the name of love.
People ask, why do people in the church still eat the way they do? It tastes good. They're addicted to it. And there's not that alternative to show them that there's something else. So it's a mental thing. I think changing your diet, being a vegan, being a vegetarian, it's mental. It's saying that I really want to live, I really want to thrive, I don't want to be sick. How do I do it? And if somebody says, well, pork is fat, which is filled with salt, and that's why you have diabetes, you might stop. If somebody said steak, red meat takes days to digest throughout your body, you might stop. You might start thinking that big stomach that I can't get rid of has something to do with the foods that I'm eating. You might stop. But nobody is telling our community, they go to the doctor. I know black folks all the time tell me the doctor said, and you know everything else that comes after that. You can be your own physician, your own doctor. So it's not true. And once we get over the addiction of the food and the way it tastes and start eating healthier foods, we will eradicate diseases from our community, from our generations. It's time to heal. So I think it's an addiction thing. I think it's been passed down to us from generation to generation. I think that we went for it and we believe that it's true, that we got to have our pork and we got to have our beef and we got to have our chicken. And I'm telling you, you can just have some rice and beans and salad and live a healthy, beautiful life.
And our beloved brothers and sisters who claim to be Christian, they too suffer from ignorance. And I got to bring it like that because I have love for them. They are our people, just like Muslims and Hebrews and Buddhists. We're all one. And we're suffering from the same pathologies, the same degenerative diseases.
A message to my sisters. If you knew the power that you had to keep your family healthy, you would be happy. You would feel powerful. You know, we always talk about empowering the woman, empowering the woman. One way to do it is very basic. It's in the kitchen.
The chemistry is actually happening in the kitchen. That's where the revolution is. That's where the revolution in our relationships are actually going to happen.
You know, as a woman, you have a job to do. And your job, first of all, is God, man, woman, and children. And that's the first. That's what we have to understand as women.
This is what our grandmothers were into. This is what some of our mothers were into.
Women have the responsibility of preparing the food, the meals for the family. That's historical. That's historical. There is no arguing with that. And they have dropped the ball. They have thrown in the towel to the corporate kitchen.
With two working parents, oftentimes, the mother is still often responsible for the food, but it makes it very difficult because she's also working, and she comes home and then she either makes something really fast, so she has to go for the fast minute foods, which are oftentimes processed, or she has to grab something on the way home, and she's not usually going to go to a restaurant or she's usually going to go to fast food and pick up what's there.
I remember a few weeks ago, I happened to be talking to a sister. She told me, she said, you know what? Shoot, I don't cook. I love to buy fast foods. I love it. I love to feed my family with, fast food. I ain't got time to go in that kitchen. If my man want to go on and get in the kitchen, he can do, but I said he ain't cooking. Something is wrong.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, 8 salt, fish and shit, taco hell. They've thrown it in the towel to them. Well, what the hell I gotta cook for? I just go to the McDonald's, KFC, 9 pieces of chicken, $5. I'm telling you, man, a lot of females today cannot cook. I got them in my family. They can't cook. They'll burn up a goddamn bowl of cornflakes. They can't cook.
That's why I teach home economics, and one of the main aspects of home economics is cooking.
I was not a cook. I did not. I'm just going to be honest. My mom, even today, she's so surprised and so proud of me for actually learning how to cook, because when she was cooking, I wanted to do everything else besides be near her. I didn't want to learn how to cook. I didn't care about the kitchen. I just wanted my food made in 5 minutes. I was fast food queen. My food is made in 2 minutes. That was the best thing ever. But, as I became more conscious, I definitely was like, no, I have to learn how to make good foods that actually taste good, that's going to be good for my body. And I've seen drastic difference in my health. So it works.
I learned almost everything that I know in the kitchen with my mama and my grandmama and my aunties. Now, when I was younger, I was getting kicked out of the kitchen because it was grown folks conversation. By the time I got older, I realized I was still in the kitchen. Now, mind you, at that time, I was learning how to cook greens all the way down till they were brown. I was learning how to fry fat back. I was learning that there's a certain type of sound that is made when that fried chicken is done. All right, so I learned all of those types of things. However, as I start learning about myself and I start learning how to eat to live, I realize that there's a lot of brothers and sisters that are on that same type of time. That's where we're going right now. So if we really are about uplifting ourselves and we do not want to be a burden to our families and our community, it means we have to take more of an active role. We're going to have to tighten up, not just in the kitchen. We're going to have to tighten up everything, but we're going to have to tighten up, especially in the kitchen, because we should want our children, we should want our parents, we should want our mates to live. We should want to bring forth our ancestors back in a way where they're not submissive to standard American diet.
Of course, it's a process and you have to practice. Believe me, I've had a lot of trial and throwing stuff away, but the more I practice, the better I've become at it. Use Google, use search engines, use blogs, and then practice until you find something that actually tastes good.
A lot of great women know how to prepare food. Let them teach you. Get some of these cookbooks and begin to learn how to prepare nutritious food, not just any kind of food. Because the reason why the problem is what it is what the children are suffering right now. See, it says train a child in the way they should go. And when they grow, they would never depart away from their teachers. If you, as the children growing up, if you begin to feed these children the nutritious foods that's going to nourish their body, then as they grow up, that will be all they know.
There's a rites of passage that actually happens in these kitchens. Our daughters need to be in there. Our sons need to be in there. Not so much necessarily cooking, but they need to see the mothers and the sisters doing their thing. It's a certain society, a certain secret that comes along with that. And there is something about that love, that energy, all those ingredients that you put in the food. Now, those ingredients We don't have to just be very textbook about it. There's just that je ne sais quoi when you're making a certain type of sauce and you add in that rosemary and you add in those herbs. Maybe if you study and you find out what those herbs do, you will understand that you're actually healing your family, as well as doing some other things that will land you in the bedroom later, so that we can do what? Be fruitful and multiply.
Can you imagine that much power as a black woman to keep your man healthy? I mean, when I think about it, I get excited knowing that I have that. And I want to tell you something, sisters. That man will love you. And he will tell everybody about how well and his woman keeps him.
The brother don't have to worry about coming from work after being there all day long, coming from work and have to worry about what he's going to eat, or have to roll his sleeves and go in the kitchen and put some junk food together. No.
If you actually prepare more plant-based foods, and let me get into what that is, have more fruits and vegetables available, put it on the table in a basket, bananas and apples and oranges, and feed it to your man, feed it to your children. Also preparing green juices is wonderful. It's got chlorophyll in it, and it makes a man strong.
Women have a great job to do in these homes. Let's roll our sleeves again and learn how to cook. Let's take care of our men. Let's be conscious about what we put in, the food we put in on the table. Because see, if you don't put the good food on the table, as these brothers continue to eat all this junk food, is going to affect their sexual performance.
And for you sisters that talk about, I don't know what happened to my man, he can't perform anymore, he can't get it up. I mean, why do you think that happens? I mean, maybe you believe in this belief that, oh, I'm getting older now, and so these things happen. Don't believe it, and don't have your man believe in that. You could get him back. Make a green smoothie, serve him a wonderful salad, and keep it going. And not just watch his sexual health improve, his mental health, his spiritual health, but his being. We're talking about raising gods. We're talking about producing gods and goddesses. Your man is not that much different than your son in that he's growing to be all that he can be. And he needs you.
And when the brothers, when the sisters give you the food that you need to nourish your body, please, don't just take a little and talk about it don't taste good and just throw it away. Don't do that. Because that means all her efforts is going to be in vain. It takes two.
So sisters, you know how your man is cranky or acting up or not wanting to listen to what you have to say, not hearing you, won't change, as you say. You know, it has a lot to do with the food.
Women, the sisters, have to become more conscious and take back their rightful roles of food preparers, cooks, culinary artists, and all of the other terms. They got to take that back. They are the nurses of the family. Nurse to nurse. That's their role. Some may argue with me. He want women back in the kitchen. See, he like James from Good Time. The kitchen in the bedroom, the kitchen in the bedroom. But see, back in those days, see, the women, they didn't have all that, you know, fibroid tumors and discharging and things like that, you know what I'm saying? They don't understand that the house was the external or the outer womb, you know, and there's a connection with the inner womb, the uterus, and the house.
We have to give nature a chance. We're not doing that. We're not doing that when we don't breastfeed our children. We're not doing that when we don't give our husbands and our children fruits and vegetables. We have got to give nature a chance, which means give God a chance. We got to love ourselves enough. That's what self-government is.
The woman is supposed to be in the kitchen preparing the nutritious food to be able to nourish the body of her husband and the rest of the family. And if you are a woman and you're not doing that, something is seriously wrong. You have gone completely against the guidelines of God.
That's why I started learning how to cook healthy, to be honest, because when I have children, I don't want to take them to McDonald's. I don't want to take them to fast food restaurants, and in my belief, I don't think it's food. I don't know what it is, but I don't want to feed my children that, and then they get sick. It's my fault. So I think as women, as black women, yes, we absolutely should, you know, learn how to cook and learn how to prepare food. And for our husbands, like for me, I want to be able to cater to my husband and make his food and make my children's food. I think it's very important.
I got one at home. I got a man at home. He sing my praises, okay? When I met my man, he was the barbecue king, and I'm not even everybody knew him for his barbecue. He sold it, he cooked it, he had it at, nobody would think he'd be a raw vegan. He is vegan in 3 years, he's mostly raw, and he thanks me daily for putting him back on track. He said I added 10 years to his life.
Our diet is extremely important for helping to heal the body and what you're putting in it. So if you're putting a lot of dead foods inside your body, then that's how your body will react, because eventually what you put on the inside will come out on the outside. And so for my family, I definitely want to make sure if I have anything to do with it, I'm giving them the best of the best.
There's power in the food, and there's power in the woman's hands, and there's power in the kitchen. Go back to the kitchen, sisters. It's not sexist, it's powerful.
When I'm speaking about African diaspora descendants, I think there's a big misnomer amongst melanated individuals in the Western Hemisphere. Western Hemisphere encompassing the Americas. The Americas are Dominican Republic, Cuba. Si tú eres cubano, si tú eres boricua, si tú eres dominicano, si tú eres de Costa Rica, si tú eres de Panamá, estoy hablando contigo. So, it doesn't matter which country you're in. What I need you to understand is that language does not denote bloodline. You're still descendants of Africa.
Brothers and sisters, let's talk a little bit about melanin. Let's talk a little bit about this phenomenon that everybody on the earth, people that don't even look like us, are studying everywhere. Scientists are studying the phenomenon of melanin. Why is this thing such a big deal?
There are 3 volumes of a book called The Melanotropic Peptide that are developed by scientists at the University of Arizona. And the melanotropic peptide is a fancy word for melanin, which is that stuff you have in your skin. Now these books, all 3 volumes, will cost you $1,500 to get them. Now ask yourself a question. Why are non-melanated people writing books about melanin and charging $1,500 for you to get it? It's because they're investing their time to understand you. And by understanding you, then they can come to a woman who's just delivered a child and say, can I have that placenta? Can I have that cord blood? And they'll take that melanin inside of that placenta and sell it off to a company like Celgene, that's a Fortune 500 company, and we in the hood saying we broke. So if you can make a company into a Fortune 500 company by them taking parts of your body, and we don't see that we are a wealthy people by nature, given that wealth from our ancestors and our Creator, we need to take another look at ourselves.
We have this thing called melanin, and melanin is what defines races. How much melanin a race has, that's how we classify them. That's how white people classify us.
Think about it, the whole idea of melatonin when you go to sleep, right? This is when you are really in that kind of a subconscious state where you're not, that's why your dreams are so vivid, because it's the melanin that actually, I'm gonna say, if I could, it takes away the bullshit. It brings to light who you are. That's what people say. When I tell people if they can't work things out in their waking state, what's happening in your sleeping state? Because that's your melatonin state. That's your state where you are connected to the Creator and the Most High. Why do you think we love church? Why would you think we do church better than anybody else? Why do you think we feel God and so-called goddess in a way that nobody else does? It's the melanin that's in our skin that connects us to the Holy Divine.
When black people are talking, we have this emotional vocabulary. It's way past other races. And they say, those black guys are getting ready to fight. We're not getting ready to fight. We just have more emotional intelligence, which you call singing like Ray Charles or Michael Jackson. That's emotional intelligence. We have more spiritual intelligence, abstract intelligence, visual intelligence, and taste intelligence, because melanin is in our taste buds, which causes us to taste the full flavor of food. And no other race can do that. We can hear more sound, inner sound, because we can absorb more sound because of the melanin. So we hear music different. That's why our music is different. That's why our food is combined different, because we taste food differently. So this is a taste vocabulary we have. Intelligence is not just abstract, 1 and 1 is 2. Intelligence is taste intelligence, sense intelligence, spatial intelligence, emotional intelligence. All of this is an intelligent range in which we have, but we're reducing ourselves to the abstract range of Europeans. As you can say 1 and 1 is 2. Okay, that's abstract. That doesn't mean too much. But when you have a sensed intelligence, it's far beyond all of that. You can sense that something is wrong.
Melanated people are sensitive, and a lot of people don't know it. So why can some people become heroin addicts or smoke herb or do all these other things? People outside of the African American community, and they seem to bounce back and keep going. They're not as sensitive. Those kind of things actually mess with our melanin. Our melanin is a high vibrational frequency, and when we smoke, we're actually pulling our melanin, in a sense, from a visual sense, we're actually pulling it down. We're actually decreasing the flow of melanin.
The depth of this chemical called melanin is how we measure the strength of a drug, which we call the half-life. It's what we study. We call it electrons, protons, neutrons, solitons, which is studying of which is black, chemistry. We're studying black particles called melanin. We call it chemistry, from the word chemet, meaning black, but we don't get it because we're miseducated. All we're doing is studying melanin. That's the only thing to study, frankly. So we have this high melanin content in our bones, our muscles, our nervous system, and that causes us to have a high amount of nutrients in our system. That's vitamins and minerals, amino acids, and all that. So we have a higher mineral content, and Europeans rate themselves the lowest on the melanin scale, so they have the least amount of melanin, so they have the least amount of mineral content in their system. But their biochemical makeup is the standard for lab tests. So we are rated at number 6, and Europeans rate themselves at number 1. So when our vitamin and mineral content falls down to 1, that's when they say there's nothing wrong with us. But we're already twice as sick. But we're using another race's standard for health, and that's a problem.
We've been told that we're all the same, and we're not. When I say the same, I mean the same anatomically.
We have a different biochemical makeup, and that's based on our melanin. But we're more intelligent than melanin. I don't think that's all we have. We got some juice that's above melanin. And that's what we have to understand. Melanin is just a part of the greatness of black people, but it's not the total.
Melanated people have an ability to access spirit in a way that nobody else on the planet can. It actually has to do with your pineal gland or your pituitary gland, actually both. And actually what they do is they become more activated. Your melanin becomes more activated. Your power source becomes more activated when you are a melanated person.
Now, to nourish your melanin, you should be on a diet set up by your ancestors. I mean, these people weren't dumb. 2 billion years of putting a diet together, and we walk away from it to go into McDonald's or whatever these places are. We shouldn't walk away from our ancestors and the technology, nutritional technology, and just walk into an Italian store and order some food. It's going to make you sick.
As we look further into nutrition, one of the things that I must say is that as far as anatomy is concerned, we are carbon-based people, all right? Carbon is the constituent element of melanin. So as a carbon-based people, we need to understand that any food that is anti-carbon, any food that depreciates the power of carbon is going to take away from our nutritional integrity. All right, so when we look at anatomy and physiology class, we learn about amino acids and we learn about carboxylic acids. The black people, the people of African descent, are primarily built, or their structure, their anatomy and physiology is built upon carboxylic acids. These are carbon-based acids like melanin and other things. So we should eat carbon-based foods. The carbon-based foods are the fruits and the vegetables.
If you are in a distant land where the sun is not shining, the next best thing to do is to eat things that are full of the sun. And that's going to feed you, so by default you'll get the sun, but you'll also get the nutrition that you're supposed to get to feed those cells.
So that means that we're eating foods that are cooked by the sun. So in a sense, we're eating melanated foods. It means that the color of our skin is holding in the sun's vibrational rays, which means that our body is able to perform functions. So people always say, oh, well, the sun produces vitamin D. No, the sun actually helps your body produce vitamin D.
Because we're photovoltaic beings. We're light creatures. We receive light. And these foods that have light and give us light and help us to change the way energy is moving in the body, that's superfood.
Nature is our friend, and everything in nature that is alive and everything in nature that has a reciprocal relationship with our biology, our anatomy and physiology, we can take it in.
Why do you not get burnt in the sun? And if you are getting sunburns, it's because of the foods that you're eating that's actually decreasing the melanin in your body.
I can look at magazines sometimes and see black people putting on sunscreen on their skin to block out the sun with the thought that the sun is going to harm them, without knowing historically we had ancestors and things in our tradition. For instance, we had an ancestor called Ra, and Ra was symbolized by the sun. And Ra being an ancestor, that tradition was given to us to show us the importance of the sun, not only in life and organisms and growing plants, but in our own nutrition.
Our genes, our genetics, our makeup was pretty much made in the sun many, many years ago from our ancestors. And we have come to a distant land and we're not getting that sun. And by default, we're starting to get diseases which we weren't getting before.
So if you are running from the sun, you need to be running to the sun. You better get as much melanated, dark skin as you possibly can. It is going to protect you from diseases. There was a time that black people didn't even get certain diseases. I remember growing up, black people didn't get cancer. That was like unheard of. Now we're getting all these other diseases because we're moving away from what makes us so powerful and so strong. So melanin is where it's at. If you're not loving your melanated skin, if you're bleaching your skin, dyeing your skin, you are killing yourself and killing your cells. Do you really want to do that? I don't think so.
A solution is something that causes change. And a solution is something that we use to shift the energy. If you are ready to truly live, the first thing I would do is cleanse, detoxify, and rejuvenate. And there's several choices out there. I wouldn't go with the regular commercial choices so much because they're packaged, and a lot of even the herbal products have been refined, redefined, and they've been processed.
You cannot detoxify your body with chemical drugs. You're not going to kick the drug habit by going to drug rehab. You can't knock out a drug with a drug. You just become an addict of another drug.
I would first start by cleansing and detoxification for at least 28 days, up to 3 months. If you have a chronic illness, heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, cancer, any of these things that they've called and labeled the disease, they're basically states of consciousness that need to be shifted by detoxification mentally, physically, and spiritually. So for 3 months, these people need to be on this particular program to clear out the toxicity, to clear out the trash that's already in their system, you see. That's where I would start.
And it doesn't have to be my full body detox. It can be anybody's detox. If it's Brother Africa's detox, you get it. If it's Dr. B's detox, you get it. If it's Sadie's detox, you get it. Detoxify your body.
And it becomes easier to get off flesh and sugar and fast foods when you're detoxifying. The first week is mental. The second week you start feeling like, wow, I'm starting to feel better. The third week, all of a sudden the brother's getting an erection like they did when they was like young again. Oh yeah, I remember this. You see what I'm saying? This is crazy. But then when your body gets used to it, starts building more tissue, you see, then you begin to get past the issue because the issue is in the tissue. Tissues hold your mind. They hold your thinking. The mind is not in your head. Quantum physics has proven that the mind is in the field around the body. You see, the tissue is what holds certain memories, which is why some folks get a massage, you press a certain point, they scream, oh my God, what is that? You see, the kidneys hold on to fear. The liver holds on to anger. You see, when we start cleansing and detoxifying those organs, you begin to think different. You begin to think like a person that's abundant and wealthy and healthy. You see, because you feel better. You're more connected.
The detox in and of itself does not heal you. Because healing does not come from outside of the human body. All it can do is just open the door, just open you up. Busting up all that mucus. All of that mucoidal plaque. All of that gunk. Fecal matter. Poop. Hard like bricks. Stuck to your colon walls. Getting that stuff out.
And not just the colon cleanse, man. This colon cleanse thing, man. People tell me, well, Dr. B, I just did a cleanse. I did a colon cleanse. That's very good. You know, that's very good you did a colon cleanse. What about the heart? What about the kidneys? What about the liver? What about the spleen? Have you done a systemic cleanse? Do you know how to do that? Do you know what elements, what minerals, what essential oils, what flower essences they use? Do you know about crystal medicine? Do you know about vibrational medicine? All these things that were indigenous that we did.
And you top it off with activated charcoal, which helps to remove all of the heavy metal toxins from the human body. And activated charcoal that's some awesome stuff. Listen, if doctors give people in hospitals who are admitted because of overdose, if they give these people activated charcoal to remove the drugs, right, and usually illegal drugs, what do you think activated charcoal does for the legal drugs? The same thing. Pulls them out. We think in terms of illegal drugs, cocaine, PCP, and things like that. We don't see sugar as a drug. We don't see salt as a drug. We don't see pepper, black pepper, as a drug. We don't see MSG as a drug. A drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. And activated charcoal is the best substance for removing these harmful agents called drugs from the human body.
Because all of these toxic things come to the liver, or free radicals as you call them, or poisons as you call them, but there's no such thing as a poison under the microscope. They're just elements in what we call a periodic table. We give them a name poison by dosage. If you eat too much of this, it becomes a poison. You drink too much water, you can drown, so water can become a poison. It's the dosage of a thing that makes it a poison. So what we're trying to do is strengthen the liver because it's dealing with these chemicals. And the things that strengthen the liver the most usually are yellow, like lemon, raw lemon juice, dandelion root. You see it on these herbicide cans. That's what they spray to kill plants. That's a dandelion. You want to eat dandelion root. That's good for the liver. You want to eat milk thistle. Is another herb good for the liver. You want to eat things that break down fat easily. We call that lecithin. These are things that you can get that are not very expensive at all, but you have to strengthen the liver because it's taking the brunt of the toxins that come from the air, the water. You get a lot of toxins in your body when you take a shower because you're breathing them in. There's the vapor of the water. So always defend yourself with your liver.
So we need to look at the fact that if we are eating flesh and we're eating these dead things, there are alternatives for us to eat. For instance, if you were eating a grain like white rice, which is pretty much stripped of all its minerals, you can replace it with a grain that grew in South America and Mexico called quinoa. Quinoa is a grain that grows primarily in North America. You can eat a grain like millet, which we grow in Mali and other places. Instead of having the white rice, you can have the black rice.
You want to eat fiber. So if you're eating bleached white flour and these potatoes, and you got to get some fiber. Go to the store, they have flaxseed meal, they have chia seeds, they have fenugreek seeds to help the fiber to wash out your digestive tract. Because you want to use that washcloth, that's fiber, like a cotton washcloth, but you can't wash yourself off without soap. And when you use the liver will make the soap. The liver makes a chemical called phosphoric acid and sulfuric acid, which you call lye. And lye and fat make soap. The liver helps to wash out your inside of your body. That's why I'm saying the liver is very important. It stores energy for you. It electrically grounds your brain.
The main thing that you're supposed to be getting into your body is electricity. All of these things are conduits or containers for electricity, so we want to get the purest form. When we're looking at eating vegetables as opposed to eating meat, we're getting more electricity and life and vitality out of the vegetables than we do meat. But if we look at fruits and nuts versus vegetables, we get more electricity and vitality out of the fruits and nuts than we do vegetables.
Usually when you're seeing things on the outside of your body, it is a result that your blood is toxic. So you want to eat foods that's going to cleanse you from within. So I would say kale, which is going to give you a ton of vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C. It's going to have that chlorophyll in it. Broccoli, spinach, Swiss chards, collard greens. Now we know we love our collard greens, but don't cook them. You can make collard greens taste good without like cooking them till they have no nutritional value. Like when you cook collard greens and then they turn brown, they're no longer, they've lost their nutrition. So you can just season the collard greens with salt and pepper and massage them and make them get a cooked texture. Actually, if you put like a tablespoon of Himalayan pink sea salt, that's an actual good salt. It has like 80 minerals, but you put that inside collard greens and let it sit for like 3 hours. It marinates and you'll have more of a cooked texture green.
You want to eat with the sun. When the sun goes down, that means your body is shutting down because it's the main energy source on Earth. So if the main energy source on Earth is shutting down, you are a piece of the main energy source, so you should be shutting down. You should never eat your biggest meals as the sun is going down. And most of our black people are conditioned to eat their biggest meals at night: steak, potatoes, chicken. You eat all of that, and then you go to bed on a full stomach, and you wake back up in the morning and you eat the traditional breakfast, the bacon, the eggs, the pancakes. So now you have 2 meals on your stomach before you can digest one. And that's how you get diabetes, that's how you get cancer, that's how you get high blood pressure. You're putting too much pressure on your body. So always eat with the sun. When you wake up in the morning, eat a light meal, eat fruits, drink something to get your body going. You should never just put something in your mouth. It should always be water first to get the system going.
You want to drink a glass of water in the morning to clean out your gastrointestinal tract. Just a glass of water in the morning. These are little things you can do, but these are great changes. And mind you, when you start being healthy, the unhealthy Negroes are going to get on you. Oh, you think you all of that. I remember you used to eat that. Who you think you are? Drink spring water. So you got to learn to understand that they're sick and you're trying to help them. God bless you if you are. You're trying to help them, and your behavior is healthy, so that's helping them. Even if they don't see it, the children will see it. So just think you're doing this for the children.
So we have to start investing in foods as medicine, also detoxification herbs that help our bodies. But more than that, one more thing I want to say, we need to start moving too. We need to get some exercise and get out and sweat. I mean, why do people, that athletes, seem to not break down as quickly as maybe other people? Later they do. And some of them are not even eating that well. That goes a long, long way.
Being fit is just natural. You don't go to the gym to get fit. You are fit because you have daily activities that require you to do things. You don't have the technology that's taking care of everything. You got to do it yourself.
You don't have to do anything super extreme. You can literally do some jumping jacks. You can do a few sit-ups. You don't have to feel like you have to go to the gym and kill yourself. Even if you go jog around the block for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, start somewhere. You just want to start somewhere, and then eventually you'll work your way up.
Everybody thinks exercise has to be going to the gym and hitting these weights. It's really just movement. Kids playing is movement. That's exercise. Find a sport that you like. Find some recreational time. You don't have time for recreation when you're at work. Work a little faster. If you sit at a desk job, squat in your chair, get back up. Do something every day for at least 10 minutes. 10 minutes of movement will do drastic things to your health. It will help you a lot. Ideally, 30 minutes. The typical recommendations are 150 minutes of exercise a week, moderately, or 75 vigorously. So if you're up to it, go hard. 10 minutes a day, that's a good 70 minutes for a week, and you're doing pretty good. And you add that with a little nutrition, and you will see great results.
You're going to have to get up off your behind and exercise. It's no way around it. It don't matter how much herbs you consume, how much vegetables and fruits you eating. If you're lazy, if you're a bum, if you're stuck to that TV, if you're listening to the radio, if you're sitting down more than 8 hours a day, you're plugged up on YouTube, you know, your body was not designed to sit. Your body was never designed to sit down for longer than an hour at a time. All right? I'm not saying lay down. Your body was not designed to sit down. When you sit down in the very same position that I'm sitting down in right now to give you this information to save your life, all right? You cut the circulation off from the lower extremities. Now your legs have a very key attachment directly to the pituitary gland, and this information was communicated to you in your Bible, which is the very first place that they even use the term pineal, okay? Because your thighs go directly to your pineal and your pituitary gland, because that's the largest muscle group in the body, to help regulate the amount of growth hormones that those organs produce, melatonin that those organs produce throughout the body. And those are the things that regulates growth, maintenance, regeneration, etc. So when you cut off the circulation to the lower extremities, you're actually limiting your pineal and your pituitary gland's ability to do their job and their function.
You want to elevate your knees above your waist when you sit on the toilet so you can get the proper pressure on your colon, so you can have a healthy bowel movement, so you won't be straining, singing like James Brown. Yeah! You want to do things healthy, so I'm starting with the toilet even. It's our lifestyle that we're talking about.
Your health comes first. Take care of your body so your body can take care of you. I'm pleading with you. We have a job to do. God cannot use us if the body is not in a state that he could use.
So we find that if you do the right thing, then that's a contribution to good health.
There are a lot of people coming into so-called or quote-unquote veganism, which is a good thing, because it shows that people are taking responsibility for their lives, for their diet, what they eat, what they consume, what they're putting into their bodies. So it's a plus. However, there's a right way and a wrong way to be a quote-unquote or so-called vegan.
The more and more I became conscious, I started really wanting to just take it to the next level of eating healthy. It was a journey. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, overnight I became this raw foodist. Absolutely not. I went from eating all meat to pescatarian, where I said, okay, I'm going to eat fish, still going to eat, cheese and dairy. And then I said, okay, I'm going to kick it up a notch, let me become vegetarian, where I don't eat any meat, but I still can consume dairy. Now, if you're consuming dairy, that's still going to create an acidic environment inside your body. It's going to create mucus. So I just started learning about the different foods I was eating. I'm thinking, ugh, mucus? Like if you blow your nose and yellow stuff is coming, I'm like, what is this? And so I kicked it up a notch. I was like, well, let me try this vegan thing. Vegans don't do no dairy, no meat, no soy. So I said, let me try that. Now, am I saying that it was easy? No, it's a journey. It's a transition. Did I slip sometimes? Absolutely. I would have a piece of cheese pizza. I'm going to be honest, and I will beat myself up about it. But then I had to say, wait a minute, you haven't eaten meat in so long. You had one little piece of cheese pizza. Just keep going. And so then I kicked it up one more notch, and I said, okay, I want to try this raw food thing. I want to see if I can eat where I'm not cooking my foods. And I have to say, being raw foodist has been the best as far as my digestive system and stuff. Everything just works so much better. It's amazing to me to see that my body does what it's supposed to do when I'm eating the right food.
There are a lot of unhealthy vegans in the world. And they are unhealthy as vegans going back to the premise of being ignorant. Okay, they're not eating any cadaver, any animal flesh. We got that. But what are they eating? A lot of refined, processed vegan foodstuffs called food. It's vegan, but it's refined, it's processed. It's acidic. It's mucus forming. is vegan, but it's mucus forming.
Sometimes people think, you know, they hear about vegetarian diets, vegan or raw food, and they hear about all the health benefits. And it's true, there's many health benefits to many sorts of nutrition and diet programs out there. But they think, you know what, I can't do that. How can I eliminate all dairy and all meat? And it's just too overwhelming. So instead of going there, they just forget it all and then just go back to their usual way, because the healthy way is too difficult. So that's why I say just start with one thing, and even if you don't see a direct change in your body, something's happening, and eventually it'll catch up to you. And then you just keep adding changes, and soon you'll see the positive effects from those changes, and you just will put away the other stuff.
Love yourself, and there's certain things nobody have to tell you. You should have a radar going on in your mind, like a detector. You know, like the metal detector that detects metal? Well, you're a detector too. You should be able to put your hand over food and be like, oh, that's not for me. People laugh at me, honey. I could see somebody pull out some lettuce and stuff, and they'll be like, Nubia, do you want some? And I'll be like, because it's not organic. I can feel organic food, y'all. It's a vibrational frequency. We have a conversation, and if it ain't organic, my mind and my body goes, no, that's okay. You could have that too. It's not the gifted, it's not the very selective few of us that got this and we know how it feels. It's everybody has the ability to know what's good for them.
When you say diet, people get, it's a diet, I can't do it. It's just a lifestyle. Don't look at it as a diet. Transition yourself into it and it literally becomes your life. It's just something I do now. When I go to the grocery store, I just naturally go to the fruits and vegetables. I don't think about it anymore. I don't think about, oh my God, I want a piece of fried chicken. But it took a minute because I used to want a piece of fried chicken. So just know it's going to be a process. And when my friends and stuff come into town, feel free to introduce them to new stuff. Like introduce them to your vegan foods. Introduce them to vegetarian foods. Not all vegan raw foods taste bad. Like they've come a long way. They got vegan ice creams. They got vegan cheese. You can literally eat vegan and it tastes very similar to soul food. I've learned that, which is amazing to me. So you literally just have to be willing to try. Give it a try. If it don't work, okay, go back to what you want to eat, but just try.
It is hard to get people to change, but what I found, which is great, is that when people make small changes, just one little change, and they see a benefit in their life, either the way they feel, the way they look, or the way they think, then that's like a moment. It's like a magic moment. It's like, wait, what I'm eating does affect me. And once they have that, then it's a domino effect, and then they want to change.
Just open your mind to trying new things. I'm not saying to take anything off the table, just add a few things to it.
The unhealthy vegan must start off on a path to become a healthy vegan and get real nutrition, which the individual could receive or obtain from the likes of sea buckthorn fruit, moringa leaf, seed, pod, kelp, chlorella, spirulina. I mean, there are a host of plants and seed vegetation out there rich in nutrition, constituting a full spectrum of nutrition.
You don't have to lose your culture because you're a vegan. You don't have to lose your culture because you're a vegetarian. You could actually still eat the foods that you love, that your people love. You could still use cinnamon and nutmeg. I think the question to me is, what is it about food? What is it about the spices? What is that doing to us? Don't you think it's connected to a memory? It's connected to a memory. When you smell that nutmeg and that cinnamon, it reminds you of your grandmother. It reminds me of mine and the sweet potato pie that she used to make. But can I make that sweet potato pie and still smell the nutmeg and the cinnamon? Do you know it smells even when you're not cooking it? And if that's going to give me that feel-good memory, then I say go for it. So my thing is, it's not so much that we can't have foods that we grew up with, it's just in the preparation. Because now we can have the foods that were passed down to us, but we could actually have the health, the good health that goes with it. So we get the soul fulfilled and we get our bodies and our minds fulfilled. That's holistic to me. That's what it's all about.
So we got to start using the healthy vocabulary as well. You can't go around saying, sweetie, how you doing, honey? Oh, you're my sugar plum. You don't want to use all these sugar words around a sugar addict. Just stop saying these things. You're triggering his addiction. You're talking like a sick person. So you got to eliminate a lot of things out of your vocabulary that you're used to saying.
Speak and talk about solutions. Don't talk about the problem. Don't mention what you do not want, because the subconscious hears what you do not want. And do not, what the heck is that? Do not. Do is going one way, not going another way. Have not. Should not. What the heck is that? Where do they teach us that? That's this English, which is an angle. You see what I'm saying? Change your angle, you change your altitude. You see what I'm saying? If you don't change that angle, you can't change your altitude. So you have to speak differently. Speak of what it is you desire. Speak as if you have it now, whatever it is you desire. Speak first person, positive present tense. I am healthy, wealthy, and well. I am rich and abundant. Now, a lot of us have been taught to push, push, push. Only the strongest survive. It's a trick. The people who really know how to do this, they sit, they imagine, they use that imagination, they create it as if it's here now. They feel it, they hear it, they see it as if it's here now, and guess what? They begin to attract success. People just pop up. Hey man, how you doing? Listen, are you such and such and such? Do you need blah, 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 blah? I know somebody that you might need to meet. Because you begin to emanate life.
So you have to help yourself be more healthy by thinking healthy, by speaking healthy, and by listening healthy. You can't go around listening to bitch and hoe and lick me up and booty call and all these things. That's toxic chemicals coming in your ear. That's an unhealthy listening habit you have.
You have to be willing to separate yourself from whatever cancer lies in your life.
All these friends you think you got, you don't know these folks. They're not your friends. They're just people you know. You see, you got to leave them. You see, maybe you'll come back and get one or two maybe one day. But you're going to need to hang out with people that are at least thinking on the level of success, or people that are successful. You see, hang around them or be by yourself.
A lot of your friends you may have to eliminate. So you have to learn how to be with yourself. A lot of us don't know how to be with ourselves. We're scared to be with ourselves, so we put music in our ears all the time because we're scared to be alone. Alone with the loneliness of yourself. Alone with you and God. Alone. We're just afraid of it. TV on all the time, even we're not watching it. Music playing all the time, even we're not listening to it because we're afraid of being alone. That's a problem of bonding. That's first trimester stress. You have a bonding problem. You can't bond to a job, can't bond to a relationship. Last 2 or 3 years, then you're on to the next one. And what's better than this relationship? The next relationship. So that's a bonding problem. So all of these things we have to look and say, I got to learn how to be in love with myself. Because if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else?
And then the last thing is we need to look at our intimacy. Who you're intersecting with, why you're intersecting. You see, intersection, sacred sex is a deep thing. You see, when you start focusing on who you are and what you'd like to bring to the world, and then man's job is he's supposed to be what? Listening to what the woman desires. Not in the material world, but her true aspirations. And what he's supposed to be doing is channeling that energy during intimacy into her to help her become that person. Then she, like letting him be the manager, he don't own the business, he don't own the stock, he don't own the earth, he just has the tools to work it. You see, he helps her get to a certain level. So now she can help him meet, right, his obligations. Because once she is clean and clear and you're helping to download with your lightning rod into her, you see what I'm saying? She can take that, put that in the oven, and through a gestation period, she gives that back to him. But first there needs to be some sacredness. We need to talk about what we're doing. We're just what? We're just gonna get some tonight? What do we leave with? What do we leave with? You see? We need to leave with something that makes us grow on an energetic level.
You got to bathe everything in Ma'at. Everything you see, bathe it in Ma'at. Everything you hear, bathe it. Is this right? Is this just for my body? Is this righteous for my body? Is this bringing my body harmony? Is this bringing my body balance? You got to wash everything with Ma'at before you let it come in your system. Ma'at is a word we use in African culture for justice, reciprocity, harmony, peace, and all of that. That's just a kind of like a designer word for all of those things together. So what I'm saying, you have to make sure everything that comes in your ear healthy, touch your skin healthy, you're bathing healthy, you're eating healthy, and you're saying healthy things. You got to learn how to be one with yourself. To heal thyself, you have to know thyself.
We are on right now. The world is waiting for us to come online and do what we need to do. It is up to you. Do not listen to all the stuff that you've heard, all the naysayers about the magic that you can actually command at this particular time. It's time to live. It's time to elevate.
But we still got time. It's never too late. And we can start right here, right where we are. Back to the land, back to life, so we can move forward.
Nature is awesome. 10 to 1. I tell people 10 to 1. You had genital herpes for what? 10 years? Nature says, give me 10 months on this new diet, this new lifestyle, and watch what happens. You've had diabetes for 7 years? Give me 7 months on this new diet, this new lifestyle, and watch what happens. 10 to 1. Now come on now. Nature is awesome. Look, man, you spent 35 years messing yourself up. 35 years. The nature says, just give me 35 months to get you unmessed up. That's not a long time, man. 35 years in exchange for 35 months. Less than 3 years, just about 3 years. To undo all the damage you did in 35 years. Man, that's real grace. I know I've sounded a little religious and anti-religious, pro-religious. That's real grace. 50 years of living crazy, eating crazy, like you're out of your mind. For 50 years, 55 years, 60 years. And the nature says, give me 55 months. Give me 60 months to undo all the damage you did to your damn self. Man, that's grace. I bow down to that right there, man. It feels good to be healthy, man. Holistically, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. Hell, I'll go even deeper. Etherically. It feels good.
So please, let's take care of our health. That's our wealth. So we will be able to live for so many years. Everlasting life has always been promised. And as it always says in the Bible, heaven and earth shall pass away, but not a dot of what God has said shall go unfulfilled. So if God promised us everlasting life, then that means that what? We must strive towards that.
We have to start taking control over our neighborhoods, our resources, and our number one resource is our body.
Allow your food to be your prescription so that you don't have to buy medication. This is your medication. You teach your body how to take care of itself. It will do so.
I named this urban kryptonite because the bad diet is the kryptonite. The bad nutrition is the kryptonite. The miseducation is the kryptonite. Whether you're a celebrity, whether you're an athlete, whether you're an entertainer, whether you're a parent, I did this for you. So it's time that you take the information and that you apply it. Get on the bandwagon and get the information out. Each one teach one. The cycle ends today.
It's profoundly simple. We have to eat things that actually grow so that we can grow.
If you have a job, and let's say this job is not the job that you really like, don't hate it. Realize it's a stepping stone to get you where you need to go. Don't hate on other people. You need to celebrate other people's success. Because your subconscious don't know anything outside of you. Your subconscious, everything you say, the subconscious says we're talking to ourselves. So when you celebrate other people's success and what they're doing, guess what? The body says we're celebrating. Let's make new healthy cells. Let's celebrate success. We're successful. And then you need to celebrate some of the successes you already got. People are not even really conscious of the successes they have. Graduating high school. Throwing the ball through that hoop the first time. That's a success. Waking up in the morning after you've been through all this toxic society. Listening to these friends talk this disagreeable talk and you made it out of that. Some folks have a heart attack and die. They go to sleep and just die because they've taken in too much. And some folks are ready to get up out of here, and that's okay too. You know, we can't control our time of when, you know, we're supposed to take that angle. But basically what we need to do is have a success statement that we live with. And whether we're making love, whether we're eating, whether we're working, whether we're raising money, raising children, raising crops, that should be our focus.
So what we say to our people is that we have a great future in promoting nutrition. Urban Kryptonite will be the #1 DVD out because it is the only one that will be promoting African-based nutrition and a nutrition that is for our people to live a disease-free life.
And to my melanated Spanish-speaking people, I think it's important that you understand that la dieta y la nutrición no es solo un problema de los negros ubicados en los Estados Unidos, sino a los negros ubicados mundial. Es que decir que tiene que cambiar la manera de comer. ¿Por qué? Porque ustedes comen cosa frita, comen queso, beban leche, comen comida chatarra, igual a los negros en los Estados Unidos, y eso tiene que cambiar hoy mismo. Basically, what I'm saying is, blacks in the Americas suffer from the same thing that blacks in the United States suffer from, and it's all diet related.
Sebi is right. Dr. Sebi is right. We do need to eat the foods that come from Africa. It's our responsibility to bring that food over here. We haven't done it. So we play a role in our own decimation. Because we got enough money to get ships, cargo ships and planes, to travel from Africa to America and from America to Africa. And you can even throw the UK in the mix and other places. We got the money for it. We know that. CDs, spinning rims, cell phone, big hula hoop earrings, sisters getting their hair done, the dookie braids. We got the money. See? But how important is it to us? And if we want to say that the majority of our people are unconscious, so what? What about the so-called conscious community? Hundreds of thousands of us. How come we are not doing it? No more excuses. It's out there. It's out there. We just have to grow the food, harvest the food, in some cases process the food, to put it in capsules and jars to bring it over here. That's our responsibility. That's our responsibility. God damn, I don't hear no more about responsibility. You got to be responsible for a woman, the children, now the food. You goddamn right. It's your responsibility. Because if you leave it up to other people, you will continue to die prematurely. Nature got us covered. The motherland got us covered. It's time to return. It's time to return back to our mother in the form of what we eat, where our food comes from. Tony Madra, thehealthstore.com. I'm just doing my part. And I'm not the only one. And there's room for more. There's room for more. Got to go to war against the urban kryptonite. Peace.